Wednesday edition of the Sports Bash live here with you as the Phils continue the hot streak against the Padres. They win again last night, beating the Padres for the fifth straight time. We got more A.J. Brown trade fallout, the hot Phils and the Padres, all that plus the NBA Finals underway. How about the Stanley Cup game last night? I was a little locked in on that one, Josh. Bet you didn't expect to hear that on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henning is producing today's show. Don't forget, you can watch today's show live on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. You can always go back and watch it after the show's over. One thing that I want to be top of mind of today is that the Phillies need to keep winning baseball games. And through hell or high water, however they get it done, they got to keep winning them. But as Bryce Harper talked about last night after the game, they have got to find a way to score some more runs. This 4-run a game thing or scoring 4 runs and then that's your limit, that's not going to work throughout the long summer. So we're going to dive into that. Some bad news for the Phillies today. And the email came out about an hour or so ago regarding prospect Aiden Miller. Anybody who thought you would see Aiden Miller at some point this year, it appears that those dreams are shattered, as the Phillies did announce today that he has been diagnosed with discogenic pain and facet inflammation in the lumbar spine. Due to a recurrence of low back pain when he returned to baseball activities before, he went to a spine specialist over the last couple of weeks. Those specialists have come to an agreement that the recommended course of treatment is minimally invasive procedure called radiofrequency ablation of the facet joints. All right, I got news for you. One, anytime you are having a treatment that you can't pronounce or say very fluently, that's not good. Anytime you're having a treatment that no one else has had before. I don't recall any professional athlete in my time doing this getting a press release that said so-and-so is getting radio frequency ablation of the facet joint. I never heard that one before. The last time I heard such craziness of an injury probably was Markelle Fultz, when you just didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And we never saw or heard from him again. Aiden Miller will have this performance performed on Friday, June the 5th, which is in 2 days. He will rest 1 week after the procedure, and then he will return to his rehab with the hope and goal to return to game activity in 6 to 8 weeks. Translation: Aiden Miller will not play baseball this season, and don't expect him to help the Philadelphia Phillies out in any way, shape, or form. And when I say any way, shape, or form, that's a twofold thing. One, he is not helping the Phillies. He will not play for the Philadelphia Phillies, and that was not a given. It was never a given that Aiden Miller was going to ever play for the Phillies this season. It was a hope, but not a given. The other parts of this is, too, you can't even trade Aiden Miller now. If you were hopeful that Aiden Miller could have been part of a trade to get you something big, and when I say a trade to get you something big, I'm talking about a Tarek Skubal or maybe even something bigger than that. I don't know that there's a pitcher bigger than that, but if you wanted this mysterious right-handed bat who doesn't exist, maybe that player would have been obtained for Aiden Miller. I would now throw that out the window. So that little email drop today is significant because Aiden Miller is now no longer a trade piece, and he no longer can help your team out. He has become a waste at the top of your prospect list. You know what having a waste at the top of your prospect list does for you? It sets you back. He can't play. He can't perform. He can't improve. He can't get better. He can't do anything. You are now a waste at the top of my prospect chain. When I have a number one prospect, I want the goal for that guy to take someone's spot on my roster. The Phillies have a glaring need for a right-handed bat, and Aiden Miller hits right-handed, unlike many of the other prospects in the Phillies organization. Dante Nori, left-handed. Gabriel Rincones, left-handed. He hits right-handed, and he plays a position that you are not thrilled with the current production, third base. He's actually a shortstop, and I don't like the production there either, but we don't need to go down that road. But having this medical update on Aiden Miller stinks. It stinks that it came to this. Because realistically, the hope would have been that Aiden Miller would have been at AAA and he was tearing things up, and that he would have been able to come up and tap out Alec Boehm, who's hitting 206. And I know Boehm has turned it around, and I know Boehm has steadied the ship, but let's be honest. Alec Boehm playing third base for a playoff team, end result, early exit. Now, I don't know that Aiden Miller playing third base in 2026 is going to make that playoff trip any longer. But at what point do you say this guy can either help us or he can't? And I get it. He's only 21 years old, and hopefully he has a bright future. And we're seeing another 21-year-old kid currently playing for the Phillies in Justin Crawford, and he's just been okay, not great. So relying on two 21-year-old kids probably is not the modus operandi to win a World Series championship. But, man, you can certainly feel the disappointment that this kid is not ready to play. Last year at Reading, 259, 13 homers, 41 RBI, 52 stolen bases. This guy is what, you're hopeful that this guy can be what you hope Trey Turner was. An on-base maven, 382 last year at Reading. Hit for a little bit of power. Doesn't have to hit 30 homers, but maybe he's a 20 to 25 home run guy. Steals bases. Gives you a little bit of everything. He got promoted to Lehigh last year, played only 8 games up there. Don't read into these numbers. 333, 514 on base percentage. Okay, let's read into him. He sounds pretty good. And now, by the way, 7 stolen bases in 8 games. He's your top prospect for a reason, but not having him available to do anything. Look, I'm the Phillies. I want to do something. I want to make a trade. I want to get better. I can't use him. Disheartening all over the place. I do want to go to the Phillies game last night. I feel like the A.J. Brown stuff has suffocated us, and we're going to get into that because I do have a lot of different thoughts on that over the last 24 hours. The trade, why, how come, all of it. But I do want to point out that Aaron Nola pitched well last night. I thought it was one of the best games he's pitched in a while, and I was really kind of studying and watching what about Nola stood out to me. 2 things. 1, 8 strikeouts for Nola last night in 5 innings. Why? Command. No walks last night. He did give up the home run. The home run is the Nola coaster. But if he gives up 2 runs in a game, now he only threw 5 innings last night, but it's, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think it's his 3rd straight game where he has not walked a batter, and miraculously, all 3 of those games have been probably his best 3 outings of the season. I talked about this going back to last year. One of Nola's biggest things in years past when he has been successful is command. He always had such good command. He was always a guy who just didn't walk guys. And when he started to walk guys, that became the bugaboo for him. So, now I'm not saying Aaron Nola has fixed all problems. We should all settle down and Nola's earning his paycheck. But at least if he can be serviceable, My gosh, he wasn't serviceable before. And I'll tell you what I mean by serviceable. The game that he had last night is a serviceable game. You can't say every single time out, can you only get me 5 innings? You like to see, can you finish six? The quality starts, 6 innings, 3 runs. There's your serviceable game. But last night, he gets you 5. He strikes out 8. He has no walks. He gives up the 1 home run. And you're saying, okay. And here's why that's serviceable. Because one of the things I want to kind of look at a little closer as you start to build your bullpen towards what are my roles going to be? And Nola throws 5, Alvarado in the 6th, Kerkering in the 7th, Keller in the 8th. We always talk about the blueprint game. There you go. Those are the 4 pitchers that you want to be a part of a game. When Alvarado, Kerkering, Keller, and Duran are part of the game, that means you're winning the game or you have won the game. When I have to see Banks, Bolin, and that crew of guys, probably something went a little haywire. Now, I know these guys can't pitch every single day of the week. But that's where Sanchez, Wheeler, hopefully Luzardo. The problem with Luzardo, he's too up and down. But they get deep into games, and you don't need to pitch all 4 of these guys every single night. But any combination of the Alvarado, Kerkering, Keller, and Duran, now it's not where you want it to be yet, but it's getting there. Alvarado's starting to get better. Kerkering, and I know Jeff wants to talk about this during Phillies Fastball today. We have our little text chain of the topics that we want to make sure that we hit on. And one of the things he wants to talk about is Kerkering. Is it time to start thinking about moving him up the ladder? I didn't like the fact that he came out with a walk to start the 7th last night and wiggled his way out of that game. But Kerkering, and then Brad Keller gave up 2 hits last night. I will say the thing about Keller that's improved in the last week or so is his command is a little bit better. And he did throw 12 pitches last night. 8 of them were strikes. So I like that about Keller because one of the problems with Keller has been his command has been terrible. And Duran is on a heater right now. The at-bat by the kid who struck out to end the game last night, Bowen, who I think was making his major league debut, he struck out 3 times. He did have a hit in the game. He was 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. The strikeout that he had to end the game last night was so embarrassingly bad that if you are the San Diego Padres, you walk up to that kid and put your hand on his shoulder and said, you have been sent back to the minors. Now, do you then take the hand back off the shoulder and say, I changed my mind? Duran is that good that it doesn't matter that you look that bad at the plate. But he got absolutely undressed at the plate last night by Johan Duran and everybody else. He struck out 3 times. He was really bad. The Padres lineup is terrible. It's not supposed to be terrible. That's the problem. Tatis is having a pretty solid season. It's not great, but he's probably the best hitter on that team right now. Manny Machado, you ready for these numbers? Can you imagine if Manny Machado was here? He's hitting 171 with a 263 on base. That's worse than Garcia. Adolis Garcia, who did have a hit last night, is hitting 193 with a 275 on base. Machado's hitting 171 with a 263 on base. You got to be kidding me. It's unbelievable. And the problem with that is this is where money and stature constantly rears its ugly head. You can't be objective enough to say, hey, you stink. I got to move you. It's, hey, you make $300+ million, so I can't move you. You can't move him out of the lineup. You can't move him where he should be hitting. Nowhere. With 171? Like, seriously. And you got him hitting in the middle of your order. He comes up in so many big spots for them over the course of the series against the Phillies. I keep saying, man, there's 2 on and Machado's up. This isn't good. And he stinks. And then after Machado, I mean, they just absolutely smell like athletic sweat socks. Horrible. Jackson Merrill, 205, Xander Bogaerts, another guy making way too much money, 239. They got two guys at the bottom of the order. One's hitting 154 and the other one's hitting 130. And then the last guy in the lineup, 087. My gosh. And we come on here daily and pontificate about the Phillies lineup. Can you imagine if Bryce Harper, who, by the way, if you remember that offseason, it was Machado or Harper. Which one were the Phillies going to sign? Machado was here. They thought about him. Machado's 33 years old. This isn't going to get better. He's 33 years old. And can you imagine if the Phillies signed Manny Machado and he was stuck in the middle of your lineup? Instead, you took Bryce Harper, who's also 33 years old. So they're both the same exact age. They were both in that offseason. You chose Harper over Machado. Or really, did Machado choose the Padres over you? Who knows? Machado is hitting 171. Harper's hitting 262. By the way, Harper's on base percentage is 363, which is very good. Wouldn't say elite, Bryce, but it's very good, 363. It's not elite, but it's very good. His slug is 519. Machado's is 346. I mean, could you imagine if Manny Machado was here? My gosh, this would be horrendous. And then, Trey Turner did have 2 hits last night. Trey Turner's hitting 227 with a 277 on-base percentage. To put it in perspective here, Trey Turner at 227 with a 277 on base and a 351 slug is having an exponentially better year than Manny Machado is. Oh, my God. And the Padres, by the way, are 32-27. That's how bad hitting is in Major League Baseball. Nobody can hit. So the Phillies win 3-2 last night. 2 things stand out. Obviously, Harper, they're down 2-0. And then Harper hits that oppo shot. That was a laser beam out to left center field. And he has been, I don't know, other than take Christopher Sanchez, the pitcher, out of it, Bryce Harper's probably been the MVP of the offense. Right? I mean, him or Schwarber, I know, are the only 2 guys. Maybe, Marsh had 4 hits last night. Marsh had 4 hits, but didn't score a run and didn't drive a run home. So it's hard to say that he was the catalyst last night. To me, it's the Harper home run. Obviously, without that, you don't win the game. And it's, the Marsh thing is, I don't know what to make of Marsh. Marsh is one of the more perplexing guys in the lineup. He's hitting 4th. I don't know that that's good, bad, indifferent. I mean, he doesn't hit for a lot of power. He's having a great year. I'm not trying to rip him at all, but he probably is still not the best option for the 4-hole, but they just don't have another guy. So he is, by proxy, become like where Bohm has been. Well, we don't have anybody else. We'll just put you there. But he doesn't hit lefties. I mean, I know he's having a solid year against lefties, but let's be honest. Do you want him up the bat against a lefty in a big situation? No, of course you don't. And listen, I get it. I don't want Harper up against a lefty, and I don't want Schwarber up against a lefty. I know they can quote-unquote hit lefties, but I just don't want to see a lefty hit against a lefty in a big spot if I don't have to. Not a tough lefty, not the guy at the back end of the bullpen. So I don't know what to make of Marsh and what he means and what his offense is. I don't know how impactful his offense is. I really don't. He had 4 hits last night. He didn't score. He didn't drive anybody in. So what do you make of that? 609-403-0973. Pat in Ocean City. Great show as always, guys. As a season ticket holder, I'm glad to see A.J. Brown gone. At least some A.J. Brown stuff. All right, we'll get into those texts in a little bit. Let's see. It's now 12 straight games the Phillies have scored 4 runs or less. What can we expect to see 5? When can we expect to see 5 runs or more in a game? I'll tell you, Jeff in Ocean City. When can you expect to see 5 or more runs in a game from the Phillies offense? Let's see what they have coming up for them here. Walker Buehler today. Luis Giolito Thursday. They play the White Sox coming up. Toronto, Milwaukee. I mean, those are some good teams. I mean, Chicago's turned it around. They're not great. They've turned things around. Toronto went to the World Series last year. I know they've gotten off to a rough start. Milwaukee's been excellent. I don't know when you've got a shot here. I'm going to circle the bingo card and give you how about a little Saturday afternoon against Sean Burke? That's my guy, Sean Burke. Saturday afternoon. What's that?
The goaltender?
Sure. Was his name Sean Burke?
There was a goaltender, Sean Burke.
The pitcher from the White Sox. He'll be the guy. Either him, Toronto's going with Patrick Corbin. He's a lefty, so he ain't scoring 5 runs in that game.
Didn't Chris Burke play for the Astros back in the day?
You got him, too. He was like a super utility player.
Yeah.
You've got another lefty in the White Sox series, so that's not going to happen. Isn't it sad that anytime you see a left-handed pitcher, David Sandlin is pitching for the White Sox. He's got an 8.10 ERA.
Which means they'll go 6 innings, he'll score no runs.
Yeah, he'll have a no-hitter in that game.
Exactly.
To answer your question, though, I don't know when the offense breaks out. It is June. The calendar has turned. You saw 2 hits from Turner last night. You got 1 hit from Garcia last night, which, I guess you can say, hey, maybe something's turning around. 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Shaner and EHC, out of daycare, Marsh is the only one who grew up. The numbers don't lie. Stott was the fave, and Bohm was mine. Marsh proved to so many of us wrong. Let him play and thrive. Hope to see him the 4th or 5th Philly in that Phillies All-Star game. Vote Marsh 2026. Yeah, you can start voting right now. I'll tell you, the All-Star game, which is not 4th of July. It's July 12th, is that? Somewhere around there?
Yeah, 12th or 15th.
It's a Tuesday night. And the voting has begun. Yes. I would assume Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Sanchez, maybe Wheeler.
Pitchers.
No, but I would say that those guys.
Oh, you mean who could be the All-Stars?
Yeah, Sanchez, maybe Wheeler.
Schwarber, Harper.
Duran,
yeah. I guess so, 5.
And maybe Marsh.
Marsh is an interesting test case because you just mentioned the fact that he doesn't hit any homers or RBI. So it's like, does he make the All-Star game as a guy who just hits a bunch of singles?
That's a tough one. I don't know, because it's hard to say you're going to have 6 guys on a team from a team that's about 500. Now, between now and then, maybe they go on a streak and they're 10 games over 500. I don't know. But I would think they're your guys. Harper, Schwarber, Marsh, Sanchez, maybe Wheeler, and Duran. Those would be the guys that have a shot to make the All-Star team for me. All right? Got anybody else that I'm forgetting? No,
the rest of the team stinks.
Well, I mean, sometimes you get those middle relief guys who are just at maybe I don't even think Kirk.
Well, that would have been Brad Keller, but he's been as unreliable as an old car at this point.
Yeah, no, I'm saying you've seen guys in the past where they've gotten these middle relief, high leverage guys, 8th inning guys, and they've put them on the team. But I don't think that's going to happen with the Phillies, especially if you already have Harper and Schwarber and Sanchez. Those 3, I would say, are almost definitively making it, right? Maybe Wheeler.
I can see Wheeler.
I would assume Sanchez will start the game if all things are continuing to go.
I mean, it would be pretty cool if somehow Sanchez starts the game and then Wheeler came in right after him.
Nola, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, and 8 strikeouts. Second most strikeouts in a game this season. And the most since he had 9 strikeouts in his second start of the season back on April the 3rd. And the Phillies have won each of his last 4 starts when he has pitched against the Padres. So if Nola can just pitch against the Padres, seems like the Phillies are pretty good. By the way, Harper, his home run in the 4th to tie that game, it ended a 32-inning drought of home runs at Citizens Bank Park, by the way. How about that? In 32 innings, it's the second longest streak over the last 5 seasons. They had a 47-inning streak back in 2022. Brandon Marsh had his 8th career hit, 4-hit game of his season, of his career, his 2nd of this season. The big number, though, last night, the Padres, 0-7 with runners in scoring position. They're 0-27 in the 4 games against the Phillies this season. They have not scored a run with runners in scoring position in 27 straight trips to the plate. My gosh, very frustrating if you're a Padre fan, which none in our audience seem to be. And by the way, they have the worst uniforms in the league. You agree?
The Padres brown.
Yeah, with beige pants. Beige pants and brown and yellow.
The base pants are bad, but I do like the brown pinstripe.
They weren't wearing those last night.
No, they weren't.
They were
I'm just
wearing
saying,
they were wearing brown uniforms with beige pants.
you've always been against the pants. You're very
Well,
big about
any
the pants.
baseball team that wears a pair of pants that aren't normal white or gray, that's bush league. That's number 1. Like, I see a team rolling up wearing, like, black baseball pants, I'm like, "All right, somebody here is running this thing that doesn't know what they're doing."
Banana ball.
Anything. No, the banana ball team wears white pants, don't they?
I think them are their opponents. Don't.
Exactly, they're clown shows. Now, the Padres last night had beige pants on with brown toilet paper jerseys.
Is that why they lost?
No, but that's the worst uniform in the league. I said it. Sports Fast Live, McGarry, Fastball, Football at 4, and you, 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. We're back. 2:33, Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Phils win last night, 4 runs again. They have not scored more than 4 runs. I think it's now 12 straight games that the Phillies have not scored more than 4. Mike, off topic from Terry says, it would be cool to have Duran in the All-Star game. At first, I thought his entrance was lame, but after experiencing it in person at a night game, it was awesome. I think Duran will be in the All-Star game. I think you'll get Duran, Harper, Schwarber, Sanchez, and then maybe Wheeler. Now, I said Marsh, and Jeff Mosher texted me and said I'm nuts for even bringing Marsh up. I mean, he's second in the league in hitting. Not that anybody cares about that anymore, but I guess that puts you on the list. They win 3-2 last night, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Third straight game where Nola, no walks. I don't know if this was a Nola turning the corner moment for you at all last night, but certainly is looking better. 8 strikeouts, no walks, just 4 hits, but he did give up the Nola homer.
Yeah. Mike, first, let me just weigh in on the All-Star thing. 5 All-Stars from a team that's 3 games over 500? This isn't the 27 Yankees we're watching here. So maybe pump the brakes
Who's
on
off
that
that list? Who's off that list? Schwarber, is he on?
Schwarber, maybe not right now. I think he has to have a good June to maybe get on that list.
All right, well, Schwarber, Harper. Is Harper in?
Harper's on the list. Harper's an All-Star. Christopher Sanchez is an All-Star.
All right, what about Marsh? You go Marsh?
I'm going to say no because you're going to get Sanchez and Harper. So if you didn't have any other All-Star on the team, keep in mind, every team has to have one guy, so you keep that in factor. So I think Marsh might fall prey to a numbers game. But if I was going to run down the guys that, I would put Marsh third on the list. If I had to rank Phillies All-Stars, I'd go Sanchez 1, Harper 2, Marsh.
So you would go Marsh over Schwarber.
Interesting question right there.
Marsh is hitting, by the way, Marsh is hitting 100 points higher, 332 to 231. He's got a 362 on base to Schwarber's 349. He is at 482 slug compared to Schwarber's 588. The OPS, Schwarber is significantly better. I don't say significantly, about 100 points higher, 937 to 844. The big numbers for Schwarber is the 22 home runs, where Marsh has 5.
Yeah, I got to go Schwarber over Marsh right there. I think you get 3. I think you get Harper. I think you get Sanchez, and I think you get Schwarber. I think those are your 3.
What about Wheeler?
I don't think you get Wheeler. Missed 5-6 starts at the beginning of the season. Last start wasn't that great.
He's 4-1.
I don't think you get it.
He's 4-1 with a 2.27 ERA and 0.85 WHIP, and he averages almost a strikeout per.
Yeah, again, the injury at the start of the season, and there's a lot of good pitchers in the National League. I'm not going to go Wheeler there. I'm going to give you Harper. I'm going to give you Sanchez, obviously, and I'm going to give you Schwarber. I think those 3 guys.
I got one more.
Brandon Marsh.
I got one more.
Injury guy.
I got one more. What about Duran? Perfect for saves. 1.45 ERA, 0.91 WHIP. The game's in Philly. You're telling me they're not going to put the tarantula walking him out in the 9th inning of a game in the All-Stars in Philadelphia?
Again, has had a good season. There's a lot of other good relief pitchers in Major League Baseball. And I just think if you look at the record, 4 stars is a lot to come from a team that's 3 games over 500.
Over under then 3.5 Phillies All-Stars.
I will take the under on that. That proposition. However, I think how it could go over, and let me straddle the fence here, is if you have guys pull out of the game because of injuries and stuff, then to me, a Brandon Marsh or Johan Duran is like the first guy in off the list of, if a guy can't pitch or a guy gets hurt and says, I'm not going to go. So, but I think asking 5 even 4 is a lot for a team, unless they tear it up in June. It's only June 4th, so we got plenty of, you got almost a month to go before the All-Star game happens.
I'm going to take the over.
But right now, I'm giving you 3.
I'm going to take the over because 2 things. One, this team has been about 500, and we still have another month to go to the All-Star break here. So they have a month, and I would think this month, you're hoping anyway, Mike, that for Phillies fans, you're hoping that this month is the jumping off point for guys to start getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the weather is turning warmer now. It's just Charlie Manuel says it's sing season. And we're getting to the point, Mike, let's face facts, and we come back to discussing the Phillies offense all the time. They either, we're 60 games into the season right now. You're either going to hit or you're not. I mean, we're into the heart of the baseball season. If you're not going to hit now, if guys like Bohm and Turner and Stott and Garcia and Real Muto aren't going to hit now, they're never going to hit. I mean, you might be looking at a lost season. So, yeah, they either got to start hitting the ball now or they're never going to do it. What's amazing, Mike, is that they continue to win games with almost no margin for error. You kind of wonder how long they can keep doing that, asking their pitchers to be perfect on a nightly basis.
I would push back on that a little bit. I do hear what you're saying. That doesn't mean the numbers at the end of the year will look great. But, I mean, Trey Turner's first year, you had to wait till almost mid-August for him to finally catch fire and take off for that team, right?
Yeah, the issue, though, is are they going to be in a position where they're close enough in the standings and put themselves in a good enough position in the standings to when they do get hot in August and September, it'll make a difference? Or will they be in a spot where they're just kind of sneaking into the playoffs and they're on the road in the wild card round? That's the kind of that's how you kind of have to look at this. Right now, they've got to start winning to put themselves in position to make a run. I know they went to the 2022 World Series as a road wild card team. They go out to St. Louis, win the 2 games here, come back, beat the Braves, beat the Padres, and then go to the World Series. But I think that's asking a lot for this group to go on the road in the playoffs and get to a World Series. So you got to start winning now. So maybe you have that wild card series at home to give yourself a bit of a break.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. As the Phillies do win last night, I do want to ask you about the email that I'm sure you got as well today on Aiden Miller. This is just bad news all around. You have opined that back injury, young player, but this to me is just devastating that he can't help the team this year if you were hopeful for that. Then you can't pivot and say, well, trade this guy to make the team better. It just seems like a completely lost season for your top prospect.
Yeah, and it's a lost season at a critical time, as you say, right now. First of all, he was a guy that if he was playing baseball right now and he was doing what people projected him to do, people would be clamoring to bring up Aiden Miller and have him give a little jolt to this team offensively. He would be a guy pushing the infielders that are struggling, Bryce and Stott and Alec Bohm. I don't think he'd be pushing Trey Turner. Trey Turner makes $300 million a year, but he would be another option on the infield for the Phillies. What do we hear from fans and even the manager, Don Mattingly? Hey, what are you going to do about this offense? Can you change the lineup? There's nobody else to play. There's no other option. So Aiden Miller was that option. So that's number one where it's terrible for this season because he's not available to help this year's team. You're absolutely right going forward. If you were going to trade one of your prospects for a star, if he was in a deal to go get a star right
Scooble,
or Mike Trout or somebody, now you can't trade that guy because no one's going to trade for a 21-year-old with a bad back. And going forward in the next season, if Aiden Miller was healthy this season, you say, okay, we feel comfortable letting Alec Bohm walk as a free agent because we've got Aiden Miller here ready to step in at third base next season. Now you don't even have that option. So you're absolutely right. This injury hurts you for this season. It hurts you as far as maybe trading a prospect for a big-time player to help you win this season, and it hurts you going forward because you don't know what you have in Aiden Miller and the Alec Bohm situation. So,
right.
yeah. And to top it all off, 21-year-olds undergoing back procedures. Not good, my friend. Not good.
Not good. I do have some news. There is a new right-handed bat available. The Padres have designated Nick Castellanos for assignment. Everybody loves a reunion. Is this how bad has he been? How bad is it that you are DFA'd on the day when you got a nice little, sliding catch tribute last night at Citizens Bank Park? He's getting asked about potentially facing Christopher Sanchez, and they don't even give him the chance of taking a bat in the ballpark.
Mike, how bad is it that they DFA this guy in Philadelphia? I mean, they couldn't DFA him on Sunday.
Right, at least give him a bat in the ballpark so we can get a little golf clap.
Yeah, unbelievable. Or wait until they leave Philadelphia to designate him for assignment. Yeah, I think I wouldn't. Hold my phone waiting for the update of the Castellanos Phillies reunion. I don't think that is going to happen.
So do the Phillies then follow suit by DFAing his replacement?
Garcia, that might be coming. I don't think it's coming today, but it might be coming soon because as we said the other day, you just can't put a guy out there who was 3 for 57 in May. I know he got a base hit last night. I know he was at the ballpark, kind of working on his hitting on an off day on Monday. That to me is a sign of a guy who cares. I mean, they fly back from the West Coast. They get back early in the morning, Monday morning, and here's a guy who shows up at the ballpark on Monday, to try to work on what's going wrong. But this is a performance-based industry. And I think you might be 2 to 3 weeks away from maybe Adolis Garcia receiving the same news that Nick Castellanos received today.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, here on the Sports Bash Live on, of course, a Wednesday edition. The Phillies taking on the Padres. They have a day game tomorrow to wrap up that series. We'll talk about it all on Friday's show with Mike as the Phillies offense looking to score a 5-run game somewhere. When will it happen? We shall see. Mike, thanks, man.
All right, Mike, we'll see you down the road. Thank you.
Mike's back on Friday's show. We'll have some more fun there on the Sports Bash. But I got 3.5 over-under for Phillies All-Stars this year. I'll take the over 3.5. I'm going to go over 3.5. At least 4 are going to make it. He's going under with 3. What do you guys think? Hit us up on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. Nick Castellanos has been DFA'd, 191 batting average with 115 at-bats. He's been awful for the Padres. I mean, you get these teams, you got these guys, and you're saying, look, just no need to have this guy around here anymore. We don't even want to have to play him sometimes. All right, coming up, Phil's taking on the Padres tonight. We got more there. A.J. Brown. What did Jason Kelsey say about the whole situation? We got that, plus Chris Long chimes in on A.J. Brown's departure. What are you guys saying? We'll read off a text message or two on the other side. Get in now on the White Horse RV text board, 609-403-0973. This hour of the show, it's brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman.
I was driving to work this morning, Mike, and I almost saw one of the craziest accidents in the Garden State Parkway. I mean, these two people were just out there on their phone or what was going on. But all I could think about was, man, those people were in a car accident. Who would they call if they were in a car accident or a workplace injury? Well, they better call Craig A. Altman, because when you get into a car accident, the insurance companies, they don't want to pay you out. They just want to go on their way. They don't want to be bothered with you. Well, get bothered. The law offices of Craig A. Altman at 856-327-8899. Car accidents, slip and fall, workplace injury, Odelsey Drive in Violin. Go with the law firm that is backed by the lawyers that know how to win. And yes, they are in New Jersey. Unlike some of those big name injury law firms, they don't actually service you in South Jersey, in the Philadelphia area. No, Craig A. Altman does. 856-327-8899. or visit them online at craigaltmanlaw.com.
Phillies Fastball. We're talking all the Phillies topics you want to hear about in 12 minutes. 253 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. A couple text messages will fit in here. 609 4030973. Justin from Ventnor says, Mike and Josh, my good friends, my good fellow Eagles fans, I know you both feel just as I do. I'm elated that the dramatic diva is no longer in Philadelphia's locker room. He is like that friend of your wife or girlfriend who comes around and always talks about themselves, full of themselves, self-submerged. A.J. Brown looked out for A.J. Brown. So let him look out for A.J. Brown as a Patriot. He is not the Eagles' problem. Also, I don't think I've ever been excited for a first-round draft pick in an Eagles season since we got A.J. Brown. I appreciate the good work A.J. Brown put in. I love him as an Eagle, but his character showed at the end. So it's a shame. I am grateful that we can move on. End of rant. Well, Justin, a couple things. One, I love the pick of Mekhi Lemon. He's got a hamstring problem already. That's concerning. One. Two, the A.J. Brown thing. I agree. It ran its course. It was time to move on. He didn't want to be here, and that's why he's not here. There's nothing more to this than he didn't want to be here. He felt that he had nothing more to do here, and he just didn't get along with the quarterback maybe the way that he wants to. Be a bad dude, not from the people that I talk to, but that doesn't mean I talk to everyone. If I ask all 53 guys, yes, some of them might say, he's a pain in the ass. I don't feel like dealing with the questions anymore. And others might say, I love AJ. He's my guy. But I think it was time for the Eagles to move on. And AJ Brown, I think, as many professional athletes do at the highest level, they are filled with drama. And the Philadelphia Eagles said, I don't want the drama any longer, and you don't want to be here. So guess what? We will acquiesce and get you out of here. So they did. And he is no longer here. And I think in the end, who will look better on this trade? I think history will show that the Philadelphia Eagles won the trade because I don't think A.J. Brown is going to go to New England and they win a Super Bowl this year. And after this year, I think you start to see A.J. Brown declining. And then the Philadelphia Eagles will prosper potentially from the pick that they got. Phillies Fastball next. Just after 3, Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN, a busy first hour, Phils and Birds and everything else. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. We told you that Aiden Miller will undergo a minimally invasive procedure for his back on Friday. He's expected to be out 6 to 8 weeks. What kind of impact will that have on the Phillies? Also, Aaron Nola's night last night. What kind of expectations should you have for Nola moving forward? We'll get into that. Nick Castellanos has been DFA'd by the Padres. He doesn't even get to play a game in Philly. Poor Nick. And then we've got over-under 3.5 All-Stars. I want to get the guys' thoughts on that as voting for the All-Star game in Philadelphia is underway. It's time for Phillies Fastball. Jeff Kerr, Oscar Budajin, join me again for today's edition of Phillies Fastball here on the Sports Bass Live on 97.3 ESPN. Well, another night, boys, where the offense scores just 4 runs, but that was enough for Aaron Nola last night as Nola, Oscar, 3 straight starts, no walks in the game, only 5 innings. But are you starting to feel better about the Phillies' former ace?
I mean, you have to. I think over the last 2 starts, we have significantly seen a shift. I mean, they went to the lap, as we said before, and kind of remodel what he needs to throw. He's throwing the most amount of knuckle curve that we've seen, and his command has been much better the last 2 outings. I mean, I would have preferred him going more than 5 innings yesterday, like he won yesterday. But look, you have to feel encouraged. Now, he's faced the Padres, which are not the best hitting team in baseball. So, but so far, so good. I mean, so far, so good. I'm very encouraged by what I've seen the last 2 outings, and I think we should be happy kind of where we are. But he's throwing significantly less 4-seamers and using his knuckle curve the most, followed by his sinker, and it appears to be working. So that's great news.
Jeff, is it sustainable, though? Can he go the rest of the season without utilizing 4-seamers and utilizing his fastball? Can you pitch all season long by just flopping off-speed pitch stuff up there?
I don't think you can. I mean, you're going to have to use the fastball at some time. But I think the key statistic for me is, and I pointed this out today on X, Aaron Nola, his last 3 starts, 18 strikeouts, no walks. That no walks is huge. And we can talk about the knuckle curve, and and Oscar's right. They've been using that a lot. They've been using his all-speed stuff a lot. But I think the key to this whole thing is he just isn't giving anybody any free passes. He's starting to look like Aaron Nola again. Is the ERA high? 4.5 the last 3 starts. Yeah. But I think we all would agree we would take that compared to what we've seen out of Aaron Nola. So is he keeping his baseball team in the game? The answer is yes. Do I think it's sustainable for the whole year? I do not, but maybe this is a way to just kind of get him back on track. And right now he's doing that.
Well, is it something to help the team out? 5 innings, you probably want 6 innings would be prudent, but the way the game went last night, his 5 and then Alvarado, Kerkering, Keller, Duran, those seemingly are becoming the 4 guys they trust the most. They're rounding into 4, but Jeff Kerr, Kerkering's season, is it time to maybe reestablish his role a little bit, or do you like the way they used him last night?
I do like the way they use him. I like him, how they've been using him all year in the 7th inning. There's still pressure situations, right? He's still coming in with inherited runners, and he's getting the majority of them out. He comes in probably the bigger of situations. He's usually facing the top of the order. That split finger has been, he's not using it frequently, but it's there. It's a weapon in his arm. His fastball's had a lot more life. It's had a lot more movement. His sweeper has been off the charts good this year, like 2023 good. That's what got him here in the first place. So I really like what they're doing. As for the 8th inning, he's outpitched Brad Keller. Would I switch them? I think I would, but I kind of like him where he is right now. And look, Brad Keller's getting paid a lot of money to pitch in the 8th inning. So let's just leave Kerkering where he is right now. He is such a weapon for them in that 7th inning and sometimes in the 8th.
The other thing we've seen change in him, he's striking out a lot more hitters than he did in the beginning of the year. So that is a big encouragement, because I think to be in the role that he's in, he needs to strike out the right amount of batters, because many times they're going to bring you runners on base. So it's going to be critical that he's able to strike out hitters.
Hey, you take a look at this bullpen, and you guys both kind of mentioned Keller. He did the one thing about Keller we talked about a week or two ago was his lack of command. That seemed to be something that stood out to me. 12 pitches last night, 8 strikes. If they get the Keller that they signed up for, this bullpen is really starting to shape up, especially Oscar Alvarado. He is a big linchpin to this thing, too. You've got to get him right. And do you see him coming around a little bit?
Yeah, I do. Look, Alvarado is kind of the wild guy. I mean, he's going to come in and pitch you inside, and he's going to brush you out. But look, he's been making some very good pitches in key roles. I mean, I saw a 3-2 in the upper outside corner the other day that he struck out one of the batters. I mean, I think it was in the Dodgers. I mean, look, I like Alvarado. I like what he brings. Something I learned a long time ago a lot about relief pitchers. You don't want that guy thrown in the middle of the play. You want that guy that's a little bit wild and crazy that can brush you out, and you don't feel secure at the plate there. So I like what I've seen so far from him, and he seems to be improving, and that's a very good sign for the Phils. Because let's be very clear, he will be the most effective left-handed pitcher because he has the staff to do it. The other guys don't.
He's struggling with getting of the year, but I think that actually helped him because he's been so good recently. It's kind of gone under the radar. He's only allowed 1 run, maybe 2 runs since May 1st. I mean, that's pretty good. And that's what these bullpen guys, as you know, they care about. The only stat they care about is giving up runs. The rest will figure itself out.
Yep. Yeah, because when Alvarado comes in the game, you see the ERA is still in the 5s. But, obviously he has, I think, become a little bit more trustworthy for the Phillies and that bullpen, which is becoming what they hoped, a little bit more of a strength. They'll have Christopher Sanchez, guys, going tonight. I don't know that you can give any more praise for him, but 44 2/3 scoreless innings, second longest streak by any player in the last 35 years. He needs 1 inning tonight to tie Zach Greinke and 2 innings, or really 1 inning and 1 out to pass him. 1.47 ERA. He was just named the pitcher of the month. He's second, 95 strikeouts, second most in Major League Baseball. He is looking to become the 5th different pitcher in Phillies history with 100 strikeouts in his first 13 strikes of the season. Kurt Schilling twice, Wheeler twice, Lee, and Steve Carlton. Those are the names Sanchez is putting his name up on the list with. 5 straight starts of 7 scoreless innings. That is unbelievable. The only person who has done it more, Don Drysdale, did it 6 times. So Sanchez can do that tonight against this Padres lineup. The last time he pitched against them, 7 innings, 9 strikeouts. They have an OPS of 632 against lefties this year. That is 28th in Major League Baseball. This all shapes up, boys, to a dominating night, potentially, for Christopher Sanchez.
Look, to me, the most impressive things, I mean, we know everything is done. I mean, the 45 strikeouts and only 3 base on balls in the month of May, that is remarkable. I mean, for a pitcher, 6-2 and 147. I mean, he's the ace of this team right now. Let's be very, very clear. He's the ace of this team. The Phillies need an ace, particularly the way they're hitting. We have not scored more than 4 runs in 12 games in a row. 12 games in a row without scoring more than 4 runs. So you are relying on your starting pitcher to be able to keep you in 1 or 2 runs, allowing 1 or 2 runs to win games. And Christopher Sanchez have been that and then some.
I don't think he pitched that well his last game compared to his other starts. And he didn't give up a run. Like Justin Crawford saved him. Defense tried to give up a couple runs there for him. And give credit to Christopher Sanchez. What does he need, Mike? 1 inning to pass Carl Hubble for the longest by a lefty?
I think 2 outs, I think, isn't it?
I mean, Carl Hubble was pretty good if you look him up. If you're going back to black and white photos, you were pretty good. So
as long as you beat a Met, I think we're happy.
Right, exactly.
Well, he wasn't a Met. He was a Giant.
He was New York Giants at the time?
Yeah, he was in New York.
Well, he had the NY sign.
Well, that was the old logo. You know how the Mets were formed, right?
Yeah, I know.
They were a combination of the Dodgers and Giants. So
anything that has to do with New York, I'm off.
Padres, by the way, have lost to the Phillies 5 straight times dating back to last season, everybody. Longest active losing streak versus an opponent. The Phillies are owning them because the Phillies have really good pitching. And my God, that Padre offense is horrible.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? I was thinking about, we talked about this in the first hour. Could you imagine if the Phillies went with Manny Machado over Bryce Harper and
Oh,
you
it'd be
were getting
disastrous
this
right now.
and you were getting this version of Manny Machado?
By the way, I'll take him ahead of Alec Bohm.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
But in year 8, right?
Oscar, Machado has been worse than Adolis Garcia.
Oh my God.
Which is hard to do, by the way.
Oh my God.
I
don't know. There's something about Machado, and he's way. I mean, I don't know. I trust him. I mean, I get he's not having a good season at all, but I mean, he's a quality bat. He's done it over so many years. He's just having a bad season. I mean, Tatis hit his first home run and whatever Saturday. I mean, and he got a couple hits against us. So look. It's just I trust Machado ahead of Alec Bowman.
And look, Manny Machado is a really good player. He's a future Hall of Famer. I'm not going to deny that. But when you got the contract he got, you can't hit like that. You just can't.
No, you can't. You can't.
Hey,
Trey Turner
here, right?
But by the way, Trey Turner cannot hit the way he's hitting.
Exactly. That is a perfect segue, Oscar. Trey Turner cannot hit the way he's hitting with that contract. Just can't happen.
Well, put it this way. Trey Turner has been exponentially better this year than Manny Machado. Now, Machado does have 10 home runs and 30 RBI, but that being said, 171, 263 on base, a 346 slug, 609 OPS. He has been unplayably bad.
He's the worst player. He might be the worst player in baseball. Like, with his contract and everything going on. And he's a good player, but this year he's
Great
not.
player.
And yeah, exactly. I just call him a future Hall of Famer. Like he is what he is. Like he's ahead of Harper on the all-time home run list, I think. Or Harper might have passed him. I gotta double check that. But
all right, guys. We all got the email today on Aiden Miller, diagnosed with some sort of back problem. He will get some sort of minor invasive surgery, but he's out 6 to 8 weeks. I look at this as a devastating blow for multiple reasons and see where you guys agree, disagree. Maybe I'm making too much of this. One, he can't help this team this year. If you had any thought that Aiden Miller would go down to AAA and force his way to Philadelphia, that is not happening. One. Two, he loses a whole year of development.
That's the biggest. That's my biggest issue.
That's it. That's
the biggest issue.
it.
Three.
And I will go ahead, Mike.
Three. You can't trade him now. If you had any thoughts of like, we want to make a major, massive deal, he's at the top of the list of guys that other teams would call for. Yeah. And now they're saying, we don't want a guy with a back problem. So we can't help this team out. He's losing a year of development, and you can't trade him. This is a disaster.
This is the other thing. I remember, Mike, I was telling you this yesterday. I was hearing it might be August. Well, August is it. Now, I will say this. He will have 40-some games. 40, I think it's like 48 he'll have. But you're right. He's not a trade chip anymore.
You're saying 48 games if he gets right back on the field.
Yeah, exactly. If he's back in early August.
That ain't happening.
No. That's the thing. But that's the projection. So,
guys, bottom line, it's a wasted year. It's a wasted year of his development, which is going to impact this team. I don't think they were going to trade him. I think this guy is a long-term. I saw him as a long-term major league piece, a major piece for this team. Kind of the hope to be the great. I mean, one of the best players that we've had in the field, and unfortunately, I mean, you're wasting a year. I mean, this is like Andrew Painter. This is like Andrew Painter going down with a Tommy Young. I mean, it's a similar situation.
When I saw Aiden Miller last year in Reading, I got to see a lot of him, and he really got better once June hit, he took off. And I said, this guy's going to be in the majors at some point next year. I didn't know when it was going to be, but I have to express, I guess, an airing of grievances. What is it with the Phillies and these injuries with their prospects? Right? Andrew Painter had the elbow issue. You kind of delayed the whole Tommy John inevitability thing for like 3 months. You kind of denied this whole Aiden Miller back issue for 2 months, and you wasted years out of them.
Last year. I mean, this back issue is not just this month.
Yeah, this is at the end of last year. Oh, by the way, it was downplayed last year when I asked about it. I'm like, so what's the deal? They're like, we're just shutting down the rest of the year. I'm like, shut them down a week left? Really? Okay. You know?
Well,
it's bad, guys. It's bad. I mean, it's
bad.
Shows
up in spring training. He's not ready there. Then they let him start to resume baseball activities. Like, that's a whole nother bizarre thing. Where did you think that he should have been resuming baseball activities? So Yeah, this seemed things to be mishandled. It's a disaster from all avenues.
I really
Oscar,
still wonder.
You're saying they didn't want to trade him. I'm not insinuating they did,
I
but
don't
somebody
think.
might have called you and said, "Hey, we'll give you Scooble if you give us Miller," and you would have to think about that deal.
And that's your trade chip, right? Yeah, I don't think they would have
Exactly.
done it because they would have traded him already. Like
This guy's a very, very, very look. You don't trade a Miller. Hayden Miller. You don't trade a Miller, and you don't trade Andrew Painter. I mean, those guys are your core youth. I mean, look, I know that. I mean, Crawford is a good player and all that, and I mean, you have very good talent. This guy is really, really, really special.
That's where I gotta give Dave Dombrowski a ton of credit because everybody thought he was going to sell the farm, right? And we still don't know how these guys are going to pan out. But to his credit, he did not trade Aiden Miller. He did not trade Andrew Painter. He did not trade Justin Crawford. Starlin Caba, he ended up trading, but I think the Phillies are going to win that trade with Jesus Cesaro because you already signed him. So that's a big trade. There's another player in there. I'm missing.
I mean, they were talking last year. What is it? Quan from the Cleveland. No way. You're not trading Aiden Miller. Andrew Painter and Aiden Miller are the two best prospect this organization has.
By the way, Eduardo Tait was one of those other players, and you got Johan Duran for him. I think the Phillies will do that trade again.
He was a really good hitter. He needed to learn how to catch. So I mean, he was in the very, very initial stages. Yeah, Aiden Miller, special, very, very special.
The only issue with trading Eduardo Tait is this: you just have nothing in the system behind a catcher. That's it.
Yep.
But he wasn't going to help them. He wasn't going to help them last year. And he wasn't going to help them this year. So
our Phillies fastball. Let's look at. We know that the All-Star game is coming to Citizens Bank Park. You can now vote for the All-Stars. We had a good conversation in the first hour. I got over under 3.5 Phillies in the All-Star game. Oscar,
I'll go
over or under.
I'm going over.
I'm going under. I'm going 3.
3. Jeff, 3. You're going over.
I'm going over because I think the fans will stuff the ballot box. I think Harper goes. I think Schwarber goes. I think Sanchez goes, and I think they find a way to get Wheeler and Duran in.
Maybe. Yeah, you're right. Maybe Wheeler and Duran might be the 4th and the 5th. So
I would pick Duran to be an All-Star right now. I would.
Oh, I mean, he's perfect.
Who you mean Durant?
Saves.
You mean Durant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been injured, so I mean that's the only part. I mean, as long as he remains healthy, I think he has a good chance of making it.
Oh, now here's the one I'm curious about. Do you think the fans find a way to get Brandon Marsh in?
I was going to say, I said Brandon Marsh. Jeff Mosher texted me and said, I'm out of my mind. I said, he's second in the league in hitting right now. He's got a pretty good on-base percentage. The only numbers, he doesn't have great power numbers.
No, but you got to remember, the fans are going to stuff the ballot box this year.
Yeah, you're right. I'll change my mind. I'll go over as well. I think
you're gonna go over now. Did
I changed my mind. You guys changed my mind.
Hey. Well, if you were to pick one, Schwarber or Marsh, which one do you take?
No, I'll take Schwarber. I mean, Schwarber is gonna. I mean, at least with both, Schwarber will absolutely. I mean, everybody will in the league beyond Philly. They're gonna vote for Schwarber. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And that's the difference with the pitchers. We can't vote for the pitchers, but I think we all can agree. Christopher Sanchez is going to go. I think they want him to start the All-Star game. I think Duran's going to go. Wheeler will be the kind of the X factor in all this. Yeah. I think whether it's over or under 3.
Yeah, so I think 4 for sure. Beyond 4, it's going to be the interesting part.
Yeah, I'm still shocked they got 9 2 years ago.
Well, listen, they're not going to get that this year because we know Stott and Turner and Bohm and Crawford and Garcia and Real Muto have no shot of getting in. But
I may just do that like fun spite vote and waste it and use one on Adolis Garcia just for the heck of it.
You get 5 votes every day, so you can vote up to 5 times every day.
Can you imagine if like fans just wanted to be funny and just vote?
Didn't they do that with the Kansas City Royals? Didn't they have like their whole starting team one year, a couple of years ago?
Yeah, they did. They did.
Last one before we get out of here. Nick Castellanos has been DFA'd by the Padres. I don't think anybody wants him back here in Philadelphia, but it is kind of sad that they didn't even give him a game to play to go and get a little bit of, because I think the fans last night they put the video up of him with the sliding catches in the outfield.
And he kind of got the ovation, but not like I tweeted. I said one game and he's out. I'm like, well, technically he didn't even play that game.
Look,
No.
I think he needs to go to Foley, the Phillies sports shop, and just grab some of his merchandise there as a veteran.
Down.
We'll send him down so he can get the 2022 shirt.
I want to ask you guys, did you guys listen to his media segment yesterday?
A little bit, yeah.
Didn't you think it was kind of awkward?
He's always awkward. He has
yeah,
been
but it was
awkward.
really awkward.
I don't know.
The other thing, why did the Padres waited until he got to Philly to do this, to make this happen? I mean, it's
Oh yeah. Or like he said, we're chasing the story.
I mean, it's like I don't know, guys. I mean, I'm telling you. And the other thing, you're paying him $19 million. I mean, Topper is out. Can you bring him out for the rest of the year? You can imagine.
No, thank you.
Coming back.
No, thank you. I don't want.
No, thank you.
Like honestly,
Hey, Mike, I'll ask you this: Garcia or Castellanos? What do you prefer?
Garcia will at least catch the ball. I mean, Garcia will catch the ball. I don't need any more.
I'm just kidding.
You know what? It's funny because I like Nick, and Nick always treated me well, but there were some times I'm just like thinking to myself, "Come on, dude! Like,
I don't want this soap opera, man. I don't want this soap opera. It's just too much, and let's just move on. Wish him the best, but I mean, he's hitting 173 and
191.
I mean, yeah, 181. He's not doing anything.
By the way, that's a soap opera that was like proven true, unlike half the stuff you hear about the Eagles these days.
Yeah, and he admitted it.
Yeah, he admitted that's the big thing. Like it was a really well guarded secret. You heard some rumblings, but like, look, I think Matt's had to sell that story since July. I really did. I think Matt Gelman's selling that since July.
Phillies Fastball returns tomorrow after the Phillies. It's a Phillies Fastball post-game edition. We got day baseball tomorrow. I'll be at Ventnor Social, and Ventnor Social brings you the Phillies Fastball here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Stop out to Ventnor Social tomorrow, and we'll do the Phillies Fastball post-game edition with the guys, Jeff and Oscar. We'll see you then, guys.
Go Phils.
I'll be at the
Take care, guys.
I'll be at the ballpark. So
Jeff will be live from the ballpark when we are done. And there's Oscar. And of course, I'll be live tomorrow at Ventnor Social. That is our Phillies Fastball segment. It is brought to you by Ventnor Social. Stop out tomorrow to Ventnor Social and see the Sports Bash live for our Phillies day game watch party. And of course, you can stop on out there and win a trip to go see the Phillies play the Orioles at Camden Yards. Our watch party tomorrow will have a drop box. All you need to do is stop out, put your name in the box, and then on Wednesday, July 29th, we'll have another day game watch party. You stop out for that, and you could be the person that is going to Baltimore to go see the Phillies play the Baltimore. Stop out there for our Phillies day game all season long. All right, I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up, what did Jason Kelsey have to say about the trade of A.J. Brown? Plus, former Eagle Chris Long weighs in. You'll hear their thoughts on the trade and what it means coming up next.
Obviously, AJ Brown, those guys 1,000 yards every year, basically of his entire NFL career, and so that will be missed from a production standpoint, no doubt. I mean, I think, AJ, there was certainly so much just exterior distractions that came with not just AJ, and I'm not putting it on him, but certainly just being in Philadelphia and the player that he is. And obviously with him not there, again, they're going to be missing that ability. This guy you couldn't guard him one-on-one, right? That was a win as a quarterback. And it's so nice to have that, knowing that, and can they replace him?
Alex Smith, can the Eagles replace the production of A.J. Brown? Listen, this is going to be a collaborative effort. If they replace A.J. Brown, it's not going to be one guy getting 1,400 yards. It's going to be multiple guys picking up the slack. It's going to be what you saw in Green Bay. It's going to be what you see in a place like San Francisco. Think about this, though. In San Francisco, Brandon Ayuk had over 1,000 yards. Deebo Samuel, highly productive wide receiver. You got to find creative and new ways to get your wide receivers involved. That's what the Eagles didn't do in the past. They didn't find creative ways to get their wide receivers the ball. It was chuck it up down the field. So will they be able to replace A.J. Brown's production? Not with one guy, but DeVonta Smith. Does he now go from a 1,000-yard guy to a 1,300-yard guy? Does Mekhi Lemon get 900 yards? You get more yards and more receptions and more activity from Dallas Goedert. Does he become a bigger part of the pass game? You saw what guys, the tight ends, have done in this offense before. You've seen George Kittle. He's pretty good, right? Look at what happened in Green Bay when they lost their tight end. The Eagles have a really good tight end. They drafted another one. I don't think replacing A.J. Brown's production is going to be an issue. It's not going to be one guy. Dontavian Wicks doesn't come in here and get 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns. It would be great. I don't think that's happened, nor should you want that to happen. Again, I hate to keep going back to Seattle, but look at the Seattle wide receiver room. Were you all that impressed with, wow, look at that receiver room there? You have a wide receiver room out there where Jackson Smith and Jigba had almost 1,800 yards. He had 119 catches. You know how many the next guy had? The next high wide receiver? 47. Cooper Kupp had 47 catches for 593 yards. The top guy had 1,793 yards. The second guy had 593. I don't think there's going to be that big of a disparity, but guess what? They won the Super Bowl. Hello. 68 catches for the tight end there. Had the second most receptions for the Seattle Seahawks, who won the Super Bowl last year. Now, you want to go to another team that, they don't particularly let's look at a team like the Rams, who run Sean Mannion's style of offense. Puka Nacua had 1,700 yards. Devontae Adams didn't even have 800 yards. 60 catches for Adams, 129 catches for Puka. So could the Philadelphia Eagles have a similar disparity in the catches and the yards with their wide receivers? Let's go to another team. Give me another team, Josh, that runs that type of offense that we should expect to see. 49ers. Now, 49ers, you look at what they do really well. The top receiver is the running back there. He had 102 catches. I don't think you're going to see that here. The next highest guy, they didn't even have a 1,000-yard player last year. Jawan Jennings had 55 catches for 643 yards. George Kittle only played 11 games, but he had 57 catches for 628 yards. Kendrick Bourne was the next highest wide receiver. There was no wide receiver at all to speak of in that offense. Now, their offense wasn't great last year, so they had problems. But you can go back a couple of years. I think we should go back 2 years ago where they really had, in 2020. What was the last year Deebo was there? 2023. That year, Brandon Ayuk, 75 catches, 1,300 yards. Kittle, 65 catches, 1,000 yards. Deebo, 60 catches, 892 yards. McCaffrey, 67 for 564. I think the Eagles can look more like that, where Ayuk is DeVonta. Goddard is Kittle. Lemon is Deebo. Jawan Jennings, maybe that is Wicks. I think you can look to more like that style of play.
I think it's more than fair to compare it to that. I think that that I think is a comment by Smith. And I'm not trying to disparage him, but I'm so tired of hearing, "Are they going to replace the production?" You're comparing apples to oranges. You're trying to say AJ Brown did this. He was great for 4 years, gave you 1,000 yards every year, but he did it in an offense that's no longer here anymore. You're not running the Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, Kellen Moore thing, amorphous offense that you used to run anymore. This is a completely different scheme, a completely different offense where the distribution, the scheme, the production, it's all going to be different.
So you were listening to both the Green Light podcast and the New Heights podcast. What are some of the highlights? Give me some of the highlights from Jason Kelsey and Chris Long.
So let's go with Kelsey first. I thought Kelsey brought some interesting points where he brought up that basically, he basically started the podcast by saying that, he wants to get something off of his chest, Kelsey said, and then he goes with this.
AJ very clearly made it known that he's been frustrated the last few years, and from everything coming out, it sounds like he wanted and was excited to move on. And I think it was in everybody's best interest. I mean, at this point, it certainly felt like it was enough of a distraction and had been that way where I think everybody was just kind of done trying to make it work out.
Yeah. Listen, you have this weighing on you and I laugh because I think that we can relate to it. You have somebody who just doesn't want to be there, but they're there. And it's like, this is fatiguing, man. Like, if you don't like it here, just leave. Instead, it was like, you want me to force you to leave? Okay, AJ, I'll send you out of here. Like, it was AJ at his finest of being passive aggressive, putting stuff out there, trying to say, I want to leave without saying I want to leave. Because in the end, he didn't want to be the bad guy. Because, as I've said many times, AJ will flash his smile like everything's okay. But deep down, he didn't want to be here. He just didn't want to be the bad guy, right? And when you have someone like that, it just brings the morale of everybody down. And I think that's what ended up happening. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody disliked him, because there are a lot of people that didn't have to work with that person all the time, right? Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, we talked about, well, they all liked him. They didn't have to stand in the huddle with them. They didn't have to go to meetings with him. So they didn't feel the same thing that the offense had to feel.
Yeah, and I think that's where Kelsey goes to the offense, Mike. He had a specific description for the Eagles offense the last couple of years, and he said because of this, something had to change.
The offense had grown stale. It was at one point very AJ and Jalen didn't have an issue in 2022 when there was the most explosive offense in the NFL. When they go out in the Super Bowl against you guys, even though we lost, they put up tons of numbers, right?
Yeah.
It only happens once teams start to get a beat. We didn't adjust well. Whatever it is, I don't know whether it was combined with schematics, injuries to the O-line, not running the quarterback. There's all these litany of things that could have caused the Eagles offense to decline over the last 3 years. That's why this has happened. So now they get to try and reinvent themselves into the explosive offense they can be with Sean Mannion.
Yeah, I mean, I think with anything, they ran that offense for 5 years. Teams started to pick up your tendencies and stuff, and they figured you out to all intents and purposes.
And I think what's interesting to point out is that Jason Kelsey is speaking from a guy who was in that offense for 3 of those 5 years. So Jason is saying, hey, I was in the building in 2022 and 2023. AJ wasn't complaining. I saw this offense become stale. I think this is Jason kind of like, he was almost kind of venting on the pod this morning, being like, I've been trying to tell you guys this, but no one wanted to listen to me.
Yeah, I think he probably grew tired of hearing it was this guy's fault or that guy's fault or all of the drama. And, he still has friends probably in there, and he's probably saying, hey, the wrong people are getting pointed out here. It was convenient for you to bemoan things when they weren't going your way.
Right.
And, that's what I think a lot of people began to grow tired of AJ for was you didn't have a problem when you had 100 yards and the team lost. But when you had 37 yards and the team won 10-7, you brought up. Now, I at the time, though, do agree that, like he's saying, I'm trying to get out in front of this. We have a problem with our offense. And because I'm saying it, now I'm the bad guy. Like, there is something to that.
There is, and we'll get to the A.J. Brown, what he had to say about that a little bit later in the show, because A.J. Brown did address some of that when he was on Maria Taylor's podcast. But to kind of circle this back to the former Eagles speaking on it, part of this conversation, Chris Long on his podcast talked about how Eagle fans need to look at A.J. Brown a little differently than some of the hate that's going on around out there.
And I know there's a lot of people, as they write his Philly eulogy today, that hate the guy. I'm not going to try to dissuade you from doing so. But what I am going to say is it kind of worked out pretty good. You kind of leased the guy for 4 years, but he held his value. You leased a beautiful sports car for 4 years. You drove it to the beach. You had some good times. You met your wife in that car. You get a Super Bowl championship. You don't win the Super Bowl without A.J. Brown.
Well put. I mean, many people lease a car out there, and you like that car because the lease is, you get a new car, and you get a new car like every 3 years. That's essentially what the Eagles did here was, hey, we leased this guy, and we had a lot of fun. This car got us everywhere, and I had peace of mind that I didn't need to put any money into it. I didn't have to take it to this place or that place or get that fixed because I knew in 3 years it's a brand new car. The car's going to hold up for 3 years. And essentially he did that.
And that's why Long goes on to say that A.J. Brown did something very important while he was here. He says that he thinks that A.J. Brown helped unlock one of Jalen Hurts' best attributes.
He unlocked a beautiful connection. When it was good between him and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, one of the best deep ball throwers in the game. He needed a dance partner. He got it in A.J. Brown. And people thought they stole him from Tennessee. And for 4 years, he did 1,000 yards a year. And he helped you win a Super Bowl. I think it was a pretty good rental. And now you're able to get out from under it. A lot of mileage on the car. And you get the same thing you paid, basically, for the dude. Yeah. And I think everybody's happy because the Eagles are now moving on.
Well, we'll see if he unlocked the deep ball or was it AJ making a lot of those plays. I do think Jalen was a good thrower of the deep ball, so I'm not disparaging or calling him out there, but I do think that will remains to be seen.
Absolutely. And Long goes on to address a lot of the criticism out there. Why didn't the Eagles get more? Why couldn't Philadelphia gotten more for trading one of the best receivers in football? Here's Chris Long's perspective.
I knew it wasn't going to be a Waddle haul. I told you that. And I don't think it has to do with the reporting that happened on the player. I think it has everything to do with the way the player played in crunch time last season and everything we saw on the sidelines and everything we heard off the field. You didn't need reporters to report on what was happening. You could see it with your own two eyes, and that's why the haul looks like it looks.
Listen, AJ's knee, that's been brought up a lot too. I don't know. I don't think that Mike Vrabel cares as much about the rumors and off the court kerfuffle thing, not off the court, just the locker room stuff. I don't think Vrabel cares. Not that he's the ultimate decision maker, but I think he talked them into trusting me on this one. You know what I'm saying? Guys, absolutely. Trust me on this one. I can handle him. That type of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like how, for those who might not recall, but, back in the day, Bill Parcells, right, with Keyshawn Johnson, the idea is, Keyshawn might be a problem. And Parcells is like, give him to me. I'll deal with this guy. I kind of get the same idea with Vrabel, right? Vrabel's like, you all act like A.J. Brown is this and that. Just give me A.J. Brown. I'll take care of it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's, guys, I know this player will be fine. You don't have to, worry about what all the stuff that happened this, that we've heard. And quite frankly, again, listen, we're not in that locker room, so we don't know how fatiguing and that it was. But I think for the most part, we've said many times, AJ's not a bad guy. He's not getting in trouble. He's not getting arrested. He's not doing anything like that.
Right. He's not a bad person. He's not a problem child in the traditional sense. But it was just the idea that, and a lot of people have brought this up. It's not just you and me, but others brought it up. It's the idea that the way AJ handled his frustrations, it created a complicated dynamic. And
well, I will say, I think a lot of people, and maybe this is, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, or we just don't, I don't put a lot of stock into social media, that kind of stuff. Maybe I should put more into it. I just feel like social media is like a fairy tale world. It's you being able to be someone that you really want to be because you don't have to account for it. You could say whatever you want to somebody because your face and your name is not attached to it. So you can be someone that you would never be.
I hear you saying that how it functions for like the everyday person, but not for the person who's a celebrity, not for the person who's a well-known commodity. Those people are using social media as a venting ground.
Yeah, but that's my point is, yes, but I can say the things there that I really want to say. And almost, I wasn't really meaning that.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, is now AJ walks in the locker room and you have a situation where fill in the blank player, I don't care who it is, says, bro, why'd you say that on social media? Okay. The owner of the Eagles met with AJ Brown to tell him to stop going on social media and venting. Like, it got to the point where the owner of the team, probably not even on social media, had to have a conversation with a man who's like, 50 years younger than him, and explain to him, I've been informed that you've been on social media too much. Stop the social media thing.
Well, and you can make a case if the owner feels the way that I do. Like, I don't really care about the social media stuff, but people are starting to be annoyed by it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, that would be me. It's like, I don't really care about this social media thing, but I'm starting to get people complain about it. And
I know it's not an apples to apples comparison, but did you ever see the movie The Gangs of New York?
No.
It's with Christopher Walken. And Walken's character, he's like one of the biggest mobsters in the town. He finally gets out of jail and he comes back. He's kind of like reestablishing himself. And there's a scene where he walks in the room and the guys are kind of going nuts. And he's like, what are we doing? What are we doing in here? And he basically sets everything. I think that's what the owner had to do. The owner had to walk in to the AJ Brown situation. Like, what are we doing here?
Let me get a couple text messages real fast. Pat in Ocean City says, great season, great show as always, guys. As a season ticket holder, I'm glad to see AJ Brown gone and good riddance. Last season, he dogged it on game-impacting plays in several games. Denver, LA, and especially the 49er game, where his drops and quitting on a block that could have sprung Barkley in a touchdown could have changed the outcome. His comments yesterday about holding his teammates accountable were insulting. Here's the thing, Pat. I do agree. I think that fans had enough of him. Fans were fatigued by him. Now, that doesn't mean the fans were right. My point is more the fans are not boo-hooing that this guy who has been one of the best receivers in the history of the franchise is gone. And that's a shame. It's a shame that it got to this point. It's a shame that a player of this magnitude, fans want it gone. My buddy texts me. He says, I'm glad Brown is gone. I don't care what teammates say publicly. He is a cancer. There's a reason he has been traded twice. He quit on his team last year. He misses too many games. Guy has too many issues that they cover up. Good riddance. The fact that this many people are done with this guy is crazy to think that he's one of the best receivers in your history and people are ready to break ties with him. Very impactful that that's where the fans are on A.J. Brown. Coming up, football at 4. Jeff Mosher in on the conversation. We'll get his take on it in 10 minutes here on Sports Fast Live on your home for Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight, 97.3 ESPN. Celebrate the World Cup 2026 with Soccer Fest at the Camden Waterfront, June 25th through the 27th from noon to 10 every single day. Watch across all 3 days on huge outdoor screens. Sign up for the New Jersey Youth Soccer Association sessions held at the Rutgers Camden Field. Shop local at the Made in Camden Village. Check out the International Food Market. South Jersey's a winning wineries and breweries, live music, and more. Sounds like a great event for everybody. Be sure to take the Paco to the City Hall station or take the New Jersey Transit River Line. Register for free tickets in advance at soccerfest26.com. World Cup coming to the area. Both Philly and North Jersey are carrying games. I am Mike Gill, and this is the Sports Bash. When we come back, the fallout from A.J. Brown's departure.
I think most people are just like, oh, well, yeah, A.J. Brown, Patriots, 2028 first, no big deal, whatever. Like, you just obviously do that. You reunite him with Vrabel. He's had extreme success with on and off the field. They have a great personal relationship. A.J. Brown dreamt of being a Patriot. That was his team. They posted all these little pictures of him as a kid wearing the Brady jersey. I don't know. Like, I hope it works as a Pats fan. I'm not, like, definitively sold this is going to be perfect. I mean, A.J. Brown's tenure with the Eagles ended in an odd way.
Is it a fait accompli that A.J. Brown goes to the Patriots and just it works out? We'll discuss that and more. Jeff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast set to join us in a couple of moments here on the Sports Bash. Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by the Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, the best place for game days like tonight's NBA Finals Game 1. Fanatic Sportsbook, huge screens, great drinks, and all the sportsbook action you want. It's a perfect place to catch every play and celebrate every win. The Fanatic Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. You know, the one thing that we're all assuming is that the New England Patriots, who, by the way, you remember their playoff run last year? Does anybody remember the New England Patriots playoff run last year? The Super Bowl, they got Rochambeau'd, right? They got absolutely Rochambeau'd in the playoffs last year in the game against the Seahawks. They were not competitive in that game. And one of the areas they were not competitive, you could say, well, that's why they needed a player like A.J. Brown. They couldn't block. They could not block in the playoffs last year. In that Super Bowl run against Seattle, they couldn't block. They scored 13 points. In the game against the Denver Broncos, they scored 10 points in that game. They couldn't block in the game against the Chargers. They didn't have a great game. If you go back to the game and look at their receiving leaders in those games in all of the way through, Mac Hollins. Now, you would say, yes, that's why they needed A.J. Brown. But is it fair to wonder if they just, they don't have a great offensive line? They're supposed to have, they drafted, beefed up their offensive line. Many people have opined that the Patriots were a product of their schedule. Maybe that's the case. But I'll tell you what, their big problem was last year was they did not block very well in the playoff games, especially the game against the Seahawks. They got totally exposed in that game. Drake May, who had a MVP level season, and I'm not sitting here saying that I think Drake May stinks by any stretch. There's a lot of quarterbacks out there who struggle sometimes because their offensive line's not very good. And I believe the Seahawks got 6 sacks in that game in the Super Bowl. Now, it doesn't mean you're playing the Seahawks or that level of defense all the time. But I think I'm going off of what Evan Cohen said there. Why does everyone think that A.J. Brown's going to go there and succeed? And I don't know that everybody does think that. I don't know that Eagles fans – I would say Eagles fans anyway. I don't know that if Eagles fans think that this guy is going to go to New England and cause all sorts of nightmares and say, wow, we gave up this guy and all of a sudden this has turned into a disaster. I don't think that's the case. Adam Kaplan, by the way, is pinch hitting for Mosher today. Mosher had something come up here. So Adam Kaplan will jump on in just a few minutes for today's Football at 4. And as we know, A.J. Brown traded to the Patriots. What I want to know, though, this is something that Mike Garafolo said that, ultimately in the end, I don't know what it was, what the straw was that broke the camel's back, but listen to what Mike Garafolo, this was on the Peter Schrager show podcast on Omaha. And it's just basically Peter Schrager and Mike Garafolo going back and forth on how this all happened and what happened here. But this is what Mike Garafolo, who is with the NFL Network, this is what he ultimately surmises about the whole situation and how it got here.
That's the crazy part, is his issues were not with the head coach. His issues were not with the offensive coordinator. No issues with Howie or ownership. It was strictly about the quarterback. So it was a really weird one because a lot of times the receiver goes, I'm just done with that team because whether it's the GM or the coach or some kind of combination of it, it wasn't the case here.
He didn't have a problem with Nick Sirianni. He didn't have a problem with the offensive coordinator. He didn't have a problem with essentially anybody, not ownership. We all know that he went to Jeffrey Lurie, and they basically had a little powwow, and Jeffrey Lurie's like, hey, man, you're my guy, but I need you to stop, right? I need you just to please help me out here because I don't want to have to keep, speaking for you. You're going to do all these things, and if everybody's coming to me, I don't want to do that anymore. So please stop. Okay, Mr. Lurie, I will stop. So he didn't have a problem with Roseman. He didn't have a problem with Lurie. He didn't have a problem with the offensive coordinator. He didn't have a problem, as you just heard, with Nick Sirianni. What he seemingly had a problem with was Jalen Hurts. And I don't know. I guess I'm somewhat surprised that the problem they had, because it stems back to 2023, they won a Super Bowl. And I think the Eagles looked at it and said, can we – listen, when they won the Super Bowl in 2024, and this issue was stewing, you can't trade A.J. Brown after you win the Super Bowl, right? Like, you can't say, hey, we just won the Super Bowl. Our next move is let's trade that guy.
Right. People will leave it free agency after winning a championship, but they don't get traded after winning a championship.
So the Eagles were in a situation where maybe they knew this was down the road or happening, but they figured we can't trade A.J. Brown. We just won the Super Bowl. We're obviously not getting rid of Jalen Hurts. So we got to try again. And then, mind you, the Eagles get off to a 4-0 start. I think ultimately they were 8-2 at one point.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, now apparently
that was also when AJ was complaining.
He had kind of maybe asked to be traded.
That's the reporting out there, although AJ denies that report.
And now we're at the situation where the Eagles are saying, can't trade this guy. We're 8-2. I think the Eagles won the Super Bowl, knew this was happening, thought that they could continue to go on, that these guys could be professionals. And I'm not saying they weren't professionals, but ultimately, when they lost last year, that was the straw that broke the camel's back of, okay, 4 years of this, we tried, we won a Super Bowl, we got to a Super Bowl, now it's time.
And listen, whether you want to believe him or not, A.J. Brown, he admits he did not handle things well last year.
How were you responding in those moments?
Not every moment. I can say I handled it the best way, especially the ones was on social media like that. That was me taking accountability for that. But with my teammates, I feel like I handled the things correctly. We had tough conversations. We had face-to-face conversations, and we talked and we pushed each other.
Yeah, see, I don't love that answer there. He realizes and acknowledges that he was wrong on social media, but he didn't do it at the time. He's saying it now.
Right.
So it's not like he's taking ownership in the moment of, hey, guys, I shouldn't have gone out on social media and said all these things. That's my bad.
Or the 200 times you could have talked to the media between the Twitch stream and the end of the season, he could have said, hey, guys, I'll admit I shouldn't have done that. Or even after Jeffrey Lurie met with him, he could have gone to the media and said, hey, I spoke to Jeffrey Lurie today. I just want to make it clear to everybody, XYZ.
Yeah. So him admitting that he didn't handle things well on social media is great to hear now. I mean, I don't want to say it's great to hear. It's like, it's fine to say that now, but it's part of the reason why it became an insufferable situation. So when we talk to Adam Kaplan here, you talk about how insufferable was this situation. Did the Eagles think they could bring A.J. Brown back? Because I think Adam said on Friday's show, before he got traded, that the Eagles have tried to, they were hopeful that they could get this thing fixed and figured out. So we'll talk to Adam Kaplan. He is pinch hitting today for Jeff Mosher on the Sports Bash Football at 4. And, of course, Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. And the Eagles make that trade. We talked to Adam yesterday. But obviously, Adam, now that the trade has been made, everyone is seemingly trying to figure out, well, why? Why did this happen? Why couldn't they salvage this? Now, there's many Eagle fans. I'd like to get, the pulse from you. A lot of our Eagles fans are texting in and saying, good riddance. They were done with this guy, it seemed like. It doesn't seem that the fans are all that broken up of a player of this magnitude walking or getting traded out the door.
Well, Mike, so Monday night, we had for our Patreon group, level 3 people, we actually had a special show for them. We did, every week we answer questions privately, and nothing is off limits. You could ask us anything you want. It's a lot of stuff we don't cover. We give them stuff that's not out there. It's, long story short, it's pretty cool stuff. And it's also great to get feedback from those people because they're diehard Eagles fans, so they're really smart. So I could tell you that room was packed. Nobody was an A.J. Brown fan in there anymore. Once he got traded, they had enough of him. The drama behind the scenes. We were telling them for 2 years about the relationship between Hurts and A.J. was not good. They're distant. They're not, what they once were. As I came up with this from one of the people who I've been getting information from, said, like, think of it as someone you met on the road, becomes a friend of yours. Maybe you met him. You were with a bunch of people. You had similar interests. You became friendly. Somehow you wind up working for the same business, and then you learn that you're two completely different people. So it's the Hurts thing and the AJ thing is personality driven. The other part of it is I heard the Mike Garafolo clip. I could definitely agree with him. I don't agree with him on everything that he said, but one that we definitely agree with, and I'll take it a step further. On the field, AJ had a big problem not getting the ball on time. Well, who was throwing him the football? Jalen Hurts. That had nothing to do with the offense coordinator. That AJ always held that against him without saying it, and that's kind of part of, in fact, a big part of his angst and wanting to be out is like he just wants the football when he wants it. Now, I would also add, from talking to a lot of people who know what's going on, the players last year were frustrated with the simplicity of the offense and how teams were able to kind of figure out what was going on, and that's coming from a lot of different people, Mike. It's so it wasn't just Hurts and Brown and Hurts not playing well enough. The run game was horrendous last season, Mike. Let's not forget about that. What's interesting, Mike? What if the run game was great again? Don't you think it would be a little bit easier to pass it because things would not be so obvious? You would have a little bit better balance. It's really hard, and Hurts is not a big volume passer. You don't want to put a lot of passes on him. But when things are in a rhythm, things tend to look better.
Yeah, and I like the way that Chris Long, he was on his podcast, and he basically, equated it to you leased a car, you got the 4 years out of it, you traded it in, and now it's time to just ride a new car out. You got what you wanted out of him, a Super Bowl, you move on. But it is kind of, don't you think, Adam, that, man, it is sad how it got to this point, that this is still a guy that probably has another year or two of good football, you would think, left in him. Right. It is sad that it's like to the point where the fans are like, good riddance for a guy who, by all accounts, was not a bad dude, didn't get into trouble off the field. However, it was the little nitpicky things that, he just admitted that, hey, I could have done better on social media. I could have handled things better. And I think the fans just got so tired of it. And how often do you see a situation where they are done with a player of that magnitude?
And not rarely, but and then the Wentz would be a mini 30 for 30. That one was much worse because AJ, yes, the one thing that really bothered me was that Minnesota game when Hurts made some great throws, and then there were a couple that he didn't get the ball on time. When he said, "Use me, but really use me," well, that was because he wasn't getting the ball on time. That's exactly what that tweet was about. Why do you need to do his belief that he felt like he needed to do that to put that out there? Mm-hmm. That's just not being a good teammate. I know that the players like him. He's a good mentor from talking to coaches or people I've run into over the years. But with AJ, especially with the Titans, and agents speak well of AJ from their players on the Eagles. But Mike, it's a shame. You're right. You're right. There's no question that fans are absolutely done with him. But can you imagine? Before we go to other subjects here, can you imagine if this the Terrell Owens situation, which happened in 2005, happened now? Mike, you couldn't get without 5 minutes about talking about it. It would never go away, and it would be the drama of the TO situation, and then what became a court case, as you know.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, that's another thing. I wish we had. Jeff and I should devote one show to talk about the TO situation. Get Brad Childress on, let him talk about what he went through in 2005.
Well, the replacements, Mekhi Lemon already with a hamstring situation. I mean, so that's not the first. That's not putting your best foot forward first. But Adam, we looked at San Francisco, the Rams, and Seattle offenses. And you look at the disparity in targets in those offenses. Like Smith and Jigba, 1,800 yards. The next guy doesn't even have 1,000. Same in San Francisco. Same in L.A. I mean, Nakua had almost 1,700 yards. DeVonta Adams doesn't even have 900. Do you anticipate that kind of thing with DeVonta Smith where he's getting 1,400 yards and then the next guy's at like 800?
Let's be careful. DeVonta's a tremendous player. He doesn't tilt coverage like A.J. Brown. But he could line up anywhere, and he's better fundamentally than A.J. Brown, but A.J. Brown's more explosive. Smith will dominate targets. There's no question about it, but it's going to be a little bit of targets by committee, right? Smith will clearly lead them. Lemon will be another starter. He'll get his share because remember the displaced targets now with A.J. Brown. I mean, you're talking about a ton of targets that are going to be divided up. Smith will lead them. Then it should be Lemon. Then after that, I mean, you're looking at committee. Goddard. You're looking at Wicks. A little bit of Hollywood Brown, who's not going to be high target at all, but he's going to be their 9-route runner. He's going to be their shot play guy. And then look, Eli Stowers, Mike. He's going to be as a coach from another team who did his tape because we're trying to figure out what this West Coast offense is going to look like. He said this has less to do with West Coast. He said he's strictly going to be a matchup player early in his career. You're not going to have him out there to block very much. He's going to have to angle block. He's not going to be able to take anyone head on. And you're going to have to get him out of his own way because he's still very raw as a blocker. He's clearly needs 2 or 3 years to be able to do it. But they're going to have the thing is the depth of the target group will be good, but you don't have that physical target like A.J. Brown. That's just what you're missing.
Any concern for you, Adam, about Lemon already having a hamstring situation worth monitoring or no cause for concern?
Well, here's the thing, though, Mike. So you've got 8 or 9 off-season practices, 6 OTAs in the mandatory camp. The practices we keep telling people are exactly the same. There's no difference. She said everybody has to be there for the mandatory camp next week. Like if he does not want to practicing, you're like it's not that he's not going to start. You just don't like that. This new offense he's got to learn. He's not getting timing down with Hurts. He's not going to be able to do it till training camp. Theoretically, we'll see if it could work next week.
Mm-hmm.
Mental reps are great, but you're not actually practicing like that. There's a major difference. You can mimic it. I've seen this for 27 years. These guys mimic what they're whatever they're allowed to do. It's moving your feet a little bit. There's sense that you try to mirror certain routes. You could only walk. You're not allowed to run or even jog. But it's not the same thing, Mike. And now you're in the classroom. That's important. You can ask questions. You're watching tape of practice, but it's not the same thing. So yeah, it's not a concern for the season or training camp. It's just that he's not getting those reps. Again, to finish this off, I learned my lesson, and I'll admit it, I was completely wrong about this. When Tyreek Hill was traded to the Dolphins, I was like, listen, I do radio. I've done radio for WHB every Thursday for 7 or 8 years. I said, there's 0 chance, guys, that the Chiefs will win a Super Bowl next season. Oops, I was wrong. I totally got it wrong. I learned my lesson. With great coaching, and obviously great quarterback play, with great coaching, you could play small ball. They played small ball. Kelsey became a bigger factor. If you look at their receiver card, you go, oh, wait a minute. Are you sure that the 2022 Chiefs would die for the Eagles receiver card that they have now? But great coaching, great execution, got it done.
Yep, and of course, the Eagles off the practice field today. They got one more OTA and then the mandatories next week before they take about a month hibernation. The last one is they lost A.J. Brown, but they did fill his spot on the roster with Elijah Mitchell, who a very interesting running back a couple of years ago. In fact, had a really good year in San Francisco a few years back. I would imagine long shot here, though.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about him. when you talked about when he played well, he came kind of out of nowhere because he's a smaller back. He was so explosive as a one-cut runner. He's 5'10". I know he's listed as 215, but if you saw him up close as I did at training camp, he looks a lot smaller now. He might put on weight, Mike, since he was drafted to get to 215. That's a different story. When I saw him, he was much smaller. But his ability to make one cut and get upfield. But, Mike, he's been hurt. He hasn't had a carry. Mike, Jeff and I talked about this with Andrew. We did a roundtable, which I hope everybody gets to listen to. It's available. We did it this morning. He is unbelievable with the one-cut explosiveness, but that's all he can do. He's not powerful. He doesn't play to his new listed size of – I guess he put some weight on, but he's a one-cut runner. He can get downhill, Mike, but he's not powerful. He doesn't play to that weight. But you know what it does? Here's a guy who knows the West Coast system. These Eagles going to go to way more zone blocking. He's a one-cut runner. He brings competition for Dameon Pierce, who, as I told folks when they signed him, when the Texans moved to a zone system, Pierce was awful. He just looked like a completely different back, and he's never recovered. And he doesn't fit the scheme that the Eagles are running. I'm not sure why he's here for it, but they're going to have a lot of competition, Mike. Will Shipley's going to have some competition this summer.
No doubt, yeah. By the way, Elijah Moore, 963 yards as a rookie in San Francisco. That was 5 years ago, by the way. But a guy who can also, catch the ball a little bit. 19 catches for 137 yards that year. That was the San Francisco year when he was with San Francisco. And he had 2 years in San Francisco where he had some decent numbers. He played with Kansas City a year ago, here in one game. Yep.
Mike, he just turned 28. He's been on IR 3 times. He's had so many different injuries, a lot of knee injuries, and I know for fantasy people, like he was what I would call the fantasy flash in the pan. He was a 6th-round pick out of Louisiana Lafayette, and he kind of came out of nowhere. It was either LSU or Louisiana Lafayette. I don't remember, but I just remember, like, wow, who is this guy? And I went to camp. I was talking to the Niners front office. I said, oh, God, we found this guy. He's a perfect fit for a system. And don't forget, he went to the West Coast scheme with Kansas City and Andy Reid, and unfortunately didn't work out.
All right, well, get out with this. Now that A.J. Brown's gone, they move on. Myles Garrett is with the Rams. Everybody's starting to set things up here. The Eagles still to you. What does it take for them to be are they a Super Bowl contender without A.J. Brown still?
Like what we'll do is we'll do Tuesday segment on this. This is actually Jeff and I are probably going to do our top 10 things that the Eagles must do this season to make another Super Bowl run. But the one thing that we have not talked enough about, and look, we didn't know this last summer that the Eagles offensive line would be in shambles for the run game. We didn't know how beat up they were. They have to run the ball better, Mike, significantly better to be a solid playoff team. They're not going to get away with it because they don't have A.J. Brown now on the outside, and they're going to have to manufacture points. That's another thing they're going to have to do on offense. But they got to be able to run the football better. I cannot believe how bad they were running the football. It could not be any worse, Mike. This season, they have to be better. Has to happen.
All right, well, we'll certainly be looking at all that stuff as the offseason really goes into hibernation mode next week after the mandatory OTAs. But the Eagles, of course, trade A.J. Brown. We knew that was coming, and now he's out. And it doesn't seem people are all that angry about it. Adam Kaplan, thanks for pinch hitting, man.
You got it, man. Thanks.
All right, Adam Kaplan from the Inside the Birds podcast. He jumps in for Jeff today. And, of course, Andrew will be here on tomorrow's show. We will be live at Ventnor Social on 6417 Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. Stop out and see us there tomorrow for live broadcast, and you can win tickets to see the Phillies play the Orioles in Baltimore at Camden Yards. Stop out tomorrow, watch the Phillies and the Padres. We'll be at Ventnor Social, 6417 Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. Coming up, the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. It's time for the Nuggets. Nick Earnshaw's in the house with this Wednesday edition of Nick's Nuggets. Stick around. More Sports Bash on the way. Charles in the house. We got his Nuggets today. And don't forget my friends at Clark's Moving and Storage. If you're in a Nugget and you need someone to help you move, don't ask your friend. Ask my friends from Clark's Moving and Storage. Do what I did. Call 889-0780 in the 609-889-0780 or visit clarksmoving.net. Believe me, your friend doesn't want to help you move, but Clark's Moving and Storage will move for you. All right, we had a day today. A.J. Brown traded yesterday. The fallout from that. Nick Castellanos DFA'd. Woo, unbelievable. Thought he was having a good year, 191. Let's get today's Nuggets today on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. By the way, Phillies lineup dropped a little while ago. I saw it, and I meant to tell everybody the lineup, and then I kind of missed it with the Castellanos news. But they're going with Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Marsh, Bohm, Stott, Realmuto's back, Garcia, and Crawford. So Realmuto's back. He goes to 7. Garcia stays 8. Crawford jumps back to 9. Best bet of the night there, Nuggets. Here's a nugget for you. Christopher Sanchez, the scoreless streak continues.
I like it. I think it continues on and on and on. Or Hershiser, move out of the way. Christopher Sanchez is here, baby. He has been unbelievable. That guy, I don't want to make predictions. That guy's a Cy Young winner. You could just see it. He needs one in the resume, Mike Gill.
Well, Cy Young, I don't know. That's a crowded field. Mizorowski, his whip, 1. Strikeout rate,
he's been
1.
Unbelievable.
Miss rate, 1. Opponent's batting average, 1. Opponent's slugging, 1. Opponent's OPS, 1. He leads in every statistical category, including his 108 strikeouts. He's looking to become the first pitcher to have 300 strikeouts in a season since 2019. In the month of May, he was 5-0 with a 0.23 ERA, 57 strikeouts in 38 innings. Bang. That's a season, right? That's a month right there.
And guess what? It was only good for second of pitcher of the month next to Christopher Sanchez. How about that?
Well, his 0.23 ERA, what did he give up? 1 run somewhere in there?
Yeah.
Because that is unbelievable. I know Sanchez had a 0.00 ERA, which just tops the 0.23, but man, Mizorowski, 5-0, 57 strikeouts in 38 innings. That's 20 more strikeouts almost than innings pitched. That is
crazy.
Unbelievable.
It's going to be an interesting race for the Cy Young, but Sanchi on the mound, going to try and make some history. That scoreless streak continues. I'm with you there, Mr. Mike Gill. But the news of the day, and why you forgot to mention the Phillies lineup earlier, is a guy who wasn't in the lineup last night, who he got a decent ovation when they showed him on the Jumbotron last night. We were talking about that if he gets an at-bat yesterday. Will he get a boo? Will he get a mix? Will he get a cheer? And they showed him on the Jumbotron sitting in the dugout. It seemed like from the videos that, it was a decent cheer for Mr. Nick Castellanos. However, there was no cheering for the San Diego Padres of Nick Castellanos as they DFA'd him. You just getting in your car, you listen to the Nuggets, you're hearing Mike before he came on, you're just hearing it. Castellanos DFA'd in Philadelphia. That had to have been like on purpose. I mean, to do it in Philadelphia on the road trip at CBP, he gets his ovation from the fans yesterday, a little cheer. He comes back to Philadelphia. Boom, he's out of a job. Mike, I think, with the season he was having, slash line 191, 221, 339, 122 plate appearances this year, a 57 OPS plus. It's the worst offensive performance since his rookie year. Yeah, not great from Casty, but man, that was definitely done on purpose. The fact that it was done in Philadelphia. Nugget 1, Casty DFA'd.
Oh man, I don't know how much you can really add here. He's terrible. Look, this whole right-handed problem that the Major League Baseball is having, it's crazy that nobody in the majors can hit. No right-handed hitters can hit. He's bad. He's been bad. He was bad last year. I don't see him getting another opportunity, right? I mean, I know he's a right-handed hitter, and there's such a devoid of right-handed hitting in baseball that maybe someone gives him a shot, but my gosh. The only worse is Manny Machado hitting 171 for that team. That's why I think Sanchez has a great chance to extend tonight. This lineup for the Padres, they're 5 games over 500, and their lineup is awful. But listen, Castellanos I think it's done. I mean, I think it's over for him. He's making $19 million to not play. He's fine.
Yeah, I would just call it quits, man. You just got to know when it is time. And dude, it's time. The beer in the dugout last year, the whole thing with Thompson, now getting cut by the Padres, batting sub 200, his worst OPS plus since his rookie year. It's over, buddy. And I saw a hilarious tweet. I forget. I wanted to give credit, but I can't remember who put it out there. Someone said, now we get to, he should call up Rob Thompson. They should start a podcast together and, kind of talk it out now. Since he's not going to be playing baseball, he's out of a job. Thompson's out of a job. Who would have thought that after that whole thing, the article comes out, Matt Gelb, Castellanos is released, that Thompson and Casty by June 3rd would be out of jobs, out of baseball, Mike.
Keep in mind, Castellanos, I think Craig Kimbrell represented the Phillies at the All-Star game, and Rob Thompson was the manager that year. What was that, 2023? Because the Phillies went to the World Series in 2022. Kimbrell went to the All-Star game, Castellanos went to the All-Star game, and Thompson was the manager, and now they're all out of jobs.
So crazy. It's crazy how time flies and how that seems like eons ago that Thompson, Casty, and Kimbrell were the star players for the Philadelphia Phillies representing Philadelphia at the All-Star game. That's crazy.
Yep. And listen, Castellanos, odd bird. I do feel a little bit like yesterday they're interviewing him. And I think it was Amy Fadul who asked him. She was like,
it was.
What's it going to be like facing Christopher? You're probably going to face him tomorrow. And he was like, he's great, blah, blah. And then he gets, told, sorry, man, you're out of here.
Cut loose. Now, which downfall are Philly fans going to be more happy about? Is it the Castellanos downfall or the A.J. Brown downfall as he goes to New England? Who are they preying on the downfall more?
Oh, I don't think there's any question.
It's got to be A.J., right?
A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Last night, I know they put a little highlight reel of him up on the big screen making sliding catches. It was almost like they planned on doing one each night, like sliding catches, big hits. I don't know what the third one would have been, but they did the sliding catches one last night because he had all those, big catches in that run in the All-Star in the World Series, not the World Series run in 2023, the run to the NLCS. And they did give him a little bit of a cheer. I mean, it wasn't like he got booed out of the building at all last night. Whereas I think A.J. Brown, it's pretty wild to me that the Eagles fans, to me, the reaction that we're getting, maybe these are the vocal minorities, but people are just done with this guy. They were just done and ready to move on.
I think the way it all went down yesterday and earlier in the week, I think it turned them off from AJ. Like, I think time will pass and he'll get a kumbaya at the 10-year anniversary of the Super Bowl team and the 15-year anniversary of the Super Bowl team. Like, I think he'll get cheers then, but right now he's still in the league. No, I think people are just over it. They did not like the way he went about everything, the way it went down, the podcast, the Instagram post ready to shoot off as soon as June 1st got here. And the way he portrayed his effort last year on the field. I think people are looking back and like, that wasn't great. That wasn't great. Didn't love the effort last year. And we think it all kind of ties together.
Yeah, I mean, we had a guy text in earlier, said he thinks that he cost him a couple games by not, playing. And look, there was times where he could catches that he has made in the past. I think people just had enough. And the social media stuff, I don't care about all that much. And I'm not saying I'm right. It's just not my personality. I just don't care. Like, to me, social media world is a made up world. It's like,
this is why when I come on the Nuggets and I talk about an unfollow or a tweet, you're like, I'm like, dude, that's the way it goes now. Like, an unfollow is like a big deal.
I don't know that I've ever blocked or unfollowed anybody in my life. I don't even know that I would know how to do it.
McAfee's blocked you.
McAfee blocked me, but I didn't block anybody else. Believe me, there are plenty of people I'm like, I don't have any time for you anymore. Block. I don't have enough care to block you. I just don't. Like, if you're sad enough to constantly message me, that's a you problem. I have won that war. You have taken time out of your life. That is precious time. I don't take time out of my life to message you. You have messaged me. Therefore, it's sad that you have taken time out of your day, but that's why I say it's like a made-up world. That's why I don't put a lot of stock into when there's like unfollows or blocks or whatever, because to me, it's just like you look at it from that avenue, like this passive-aggressive ability to say what you want behind a name that I don't know who these people are. Now, the difference is people do know who A.J. Brown is, but I think he's looking at it, you post it there, and it's almost like not real.
Yeah. People think it's like not everyone can see it. It's like, dude, that's a public forum. Like, you're putting it in a public forum.
I know.
It's Twitch, etc.
It's like the people who, when they lose their job or they change jobs, it's like, the dreaded, a professional update or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, put that out there.
Yeah, you're not a big LinkedIn guy either.
No, it's weird because every so often I'll get a LinkedIn email and I don't even know what it is.
I'm big on LinkedIn.
Show me how to do my LinkedIn.
I will. I'll come by the porch and I'll show you how to do the LinkedIn. We'll get it all set up.
It's not that I don't know how to use like the fun, like the certain things. I just don't check them enough.
I will say LinkedIn, it's a little fake. It's a little fake. Can we be like, it's a little like everything's great. Everything's kumbaya on LinkedIn. Everything's just fantastic on LinkedIn. All positivity.
Like
not very real. Twitter's a little more real.
Instagram.
Love Instagram.
I rarely check Instagram.
I know. I'm aware. I'm aware of that one. I'll send you stuff. I'm like, did you see this? I sent you on the gram, in the DMs.
I might look at it, but I don't get alerts on Instagram. So if you send me stuff, I don't get the alert that alerts me that I have a message or a reaction or anything. So I'm not an active.
Now you're creating more work for me. You're creating more work for me because then I got to text you, hey, did you see this on Instagram?
These are all prove-its.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm glad we talked about social media because this kind of leads right into nugget number 2. There was another former Eagle snapping, going off on Twitter today. And it started with this tweet. It has 4.6 million impressions as of right now. And that is former cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles and the New England Patriots, Asante Samuel. He tweeted this out today. A.J. Brown wouldn't be able to handle my mouth in practice. He would have been left Philly bleeping with me. Asante Samuel laying down the hammer on A.J. Brown, Mr. Mike Gill.
Well, Asante was a trash talker. There's no question about that.
Absolutely.
I don't know that he's right in that expository, though. I mean, he was a smaller corner matched up against a bigger physical guy. Now he's saying he wouldn't have been able to handle my yapping. Maybe.
And then he went on to say this. He said this in a following tweet. And in New England, Belichick would have hyped me up to talk bleep to A.J. Brown.
So Belichick would have wanted Samuel to lay it to him?
Yes, he would have liked him to lay it on to him. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm interested to see how, because AJ thinks leaving here to go there, and things are going to be a little bit different, because this is such a tough market, and I get all that stuff. But, playing in New England is not like you're playing in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's not like he went to San Diego, it's not like that happened, So Boston's a top 5 market, a top 3 sports city. I'll give them credit. They are a top 3 sports city. I'd say Boston, New York, and Philadelphia are the 3 best sports cities in America.
And already there are Boston radio not liking this deal, thinking that Howie Roseman got one over on the Patriots. So he's walking into a situation where the sports talk radio already thinks that they made a bad deal. So welcome to Boston.
Yeah. Well, welcome. You left one place where it was a little tough for you, and now you got to go to another place. How the heck did I get so much A.J. Brown in this Nuggets? Today, I'm walking into Nuggets today. I'm like, we're not going to talk a ton of A.J. Brown. We'll start with Castellanos, so that's the breaking news of the day. And then I saw the Asante Samuel stuff, and I was like, you know what? It's just going to be all A.J. Brown all over again. I mean, this guy, I got to get, it's enough. It's enough. I don't know how it keeps popping up.
I am surprised, though, like the fact that this is one of the best receivers in the history of the franchise, if not the best. In fact, 4-year run is probably the best 4-year run of all time in Philadelphia. People are just like, I want you out of here. It's sad that it got to that point.
And it's a different situation than the T.O. thing. The T.O. thing was different than the AJ stuff. They were two different scenarios. However, they are the same macro diva type receiver. And I put it on my Instagram story yesterday, something you tend not to use a ton. I use all the time. My favorite part of social media is the Instagram story. I put the diva receiver. You got 4 great years out of it. That is the macro of this situation. You got 4 great years out of a diva wide receiver.
Yep, and listen, when you get a run like that of 4 years, he had a single season in yardage career, the Eagles single season yardage leader, single season receptions leader. You won a Super Bowl. I like the way that Chris Long, we played that bite earlier from the Green Light podcast. It's like having, a lease car. You got, 4 years out of it, and you move on. So
you move on. Yep.
I'm just surprised at how accepting people are of, or I won't say accepting, how ready people were to move on from this player.
I think it's just, it left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Asante Samuel too, of how he left the organization. Before I get out of here, because I know I have like a minute, Knicks and Spurs tonight. The alien Wembanyama. Who are you taking in the series? Who's winning the finals?
I already
know I'm
taking. Just like I was on OKC. I was wrong about that. They lost. I wouldn't be shocked if the Knicks win this series.
You're going Knicks? Now, are you rooting Knicks? You can pick that, but like,
I don't know that I have a quote unquote rooting interest.
Well, I'm tired of these Sixer fans saying they're going to root for the Knicks. I mean, that's just terrible. Just terrible.
Here's what the situation. The Knicks have not been good in about 50 years.
It's a rival. It's a rival.
That's the problem. We put these teams on pedestals they don't belong on. The Cowboys, the Knicks.
That's my top 2 most hated teams ever.
They don't belong on a pedestal of hate. They're insignificant. So when you give them the attention, that's what they want. You're part of the problem.
I'm not part of the problem. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing here and hating on New York. All right? That's what I got to do. All right? That is my job. That's what I come on the Nuggets to do. All right? I will hate on New York if there is a story or a nugget to talk about. I will hate on New York every chance I get. The Spurs are winning this series. Wembanyama, I'm rooting for the Spurs and I'm picking the Spurs. All right?
I think the Knicks. I think no one's giving them a chance. I think the Knicks win the series.
I think a lot of people are giving them a chance. I've seen a lot of Knick picks.
The Knick fans.
Yeah, the Knick fans are, at least. All right, there you go. 3-pack of Nuggets. Enjoy the finals tonight, man, and the Phils.
I actually think you want the Knicks to win because I don't want to see a streak of where Oklahoma City or the Spurs win like 10 of the next 11 things here. Because if he wins this one,
I'm a fan.
If he wins this one, when are you going to stop him?
I don't know. The Sixers aren't even close, so it doesn't matter to me.
All right, there's today's Nuggets here on the Sports Bash. And don't forget the Knicks and the Spurs tonight right here on 97.3 ESPN. You can watch the NBA Finals. Listen to the NBA Finals on 97.3 ESPN. Phillies getting ready to take on the Padres. The lineup is out for that. We've got that. The Eagles at OTAs the last 2 days. All that and more here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. 5 o'clock on a drive home Wednesday. Sports Bash taking you till the top of the hour tonight. Phil's in action against the Padres. Nick Castellanos DFA'd by the Padres today. He gone. So if you thought Casty, I'd hate to be the bearer of bad news if you were going to the game tonight to see Nick Castellanos. He will not be in the lineup. He will not be in the ballpark. He has been DFA'd by the Padres. There was some thought that he could play tonight, the right-handed bat against lefty Christopher Sanchez. We got the NBA Finals tonight on 97.3 ESPN, Spurs and Knicks. But a lot of people still chiming in on A.J. Brown. A lot of text messages on the White Horse RV text board. You can chime in there, 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. So a lot of people have weighed in on this A.J. Brown. Let's go to Chip in Lewis, Delaware, who says, Mike and Josh, A.J. had 3 great years, in my opinion. Year 4 was not great. I think there were times he gave less than his best effort. Did Alex Smith watch the same games we did? Now, we played a bite from Alex Smith earlier. Maybe we can replay that for the new audience. But he says, A.J. was far from, quote, unguardable last year. There were games where he got no separation. He says, I like the Chris Long analogy. We'll play that for you, too. He said, A.J. decided to terminate the lease somewhere during year 4. And it's good both sides are moving on. Thanks for listening. Great show as always. Chip, thank you down there in Lewis, Delaware. So let's hear what A.J. Brown, what Alex Smith said about A.J. Brown.
Obviously, A.J. Brown is one of the premier receivers in the NFL. This guy's a walking 1,000 yards every year, basically of his entire NFL career, and so that will be missed from a production standpoint, no doubt. I mean, I think, A.J., there was certainly so much just exterior distractions that came with not just A.J., and I'm not putting it on him, but certainly just being in Philadelphia and the player that he is. And obviously with him not there, again, they're going to be missing that ability. This guy you couldn't guard him one-on-one, right? That was a win as a quarterback. And it's so nice to have that, knowing that, and can they replace him?
So what Alex Smith is suggesting is that he's not sure the Eagles will be able to replace A.J. Brown's production there and, one-on-one and all the stuff. I don't know that that's what the Eagles are even looking to do. They're not saying, hey, the new guy has to line up and be A.J. Brown and run the same routes. They're running a new offense. And the new offense is designed with the notion of there will not be an A.J. Brown level receiver, I should say. So was he unguardable last season, as the text message suggests? No, he did not have a great year last year. He was good, not great, and sometimes invisible. So I think a lot of this also is predicated on the fact that the Eagles felt that the player was in decline. Not that he's declined, but that he was beginning a decline. And hence, they were okay with this. But here is how Chris Long kind of described the relationship between Philadelphia and A.J. Brown from 2022 when they traded for him to where it ended up on Monday.
And I know there's a lot of people, as they write his Philly eulogy today, that hate the guy. I'm not going to try to dissuade you from doing so. But what I am going to say is it kind of worked out pretty good. You kind of leased the guy for 4 years, but he held his value. You leased a beautiful sports car for 4 years. You drove it to the beach. You had some good times. You met your wife in that car. You get a Super Bowl championship. You don't win the Super Bowl without A.J. Brown.
You don't win the Super Bowl without A.J. Brown. That's true. You had a lot of good times with A.J. Brown. He said, I'm not going to, but the part I do like is, I'm not going to try to sway you out of not disliking this guy right now. You can do that if you want. But he said, go back and look at the good times. I do think that, and we played those 2 bites because the text message referred to those 2 bites that we played earlier in the show. But you had A.J. Brown. You accomplished everything that you hoped to when you got A.J. Brown. The sad part is that there's probably more left in A.J. Brown. There's more left in that car. There's more miles that you can get, but just like your lease, I didn't want to have to turn it in. I wanted to keep riding this thing, but I just didn't want to pay the money to buy the lease out. And that's essentially what ended up happening here. 609-403-0973.
I think the other thing that needs to be pointed out is that, when we talk about A.J. Brown and what he was, what he did, and what he is moving forward, it's not linear, because last year, A.J. Brown had the worst year of his 4 years in Philadelphia. It doesn't mean that the 3 years before that weren't apex level receiver type years. It doesn't discount the fact that when A.J. Brown is focused and engaged and playing his best, that he is one of the best receivers of football.
Most seasons with 1,000 yards in Eagles history, 4.
Right.
Single season receiving yards record, 1,496. Single season receptions leader by a wide receiver, 106. So, yeah, he obviously made an impact.
But it doesn't change the reality that two realities can be true. He can be one of the greatest receivers in Eagles history and be a guy who dropped a lot of passes and quit on routes last year. Two things can coexist.
He accounted for 33% of Phillies receiving yards over the last 4 seasons. But, right, he did have a lot of plays last year that were questionable, moments that were questionable, things that he did off the field, not in a bad way, not getting yourself in trouble, just stuff that he said, stirring the pot, saying things to kind of, needle at the locker room. I think there's enough evidence here that it was time to move on from AJ. Like, if we were taking this to trial and the judge was to rule, hey, is there enough evidence here to say that this guy was enough of a pain in the ass that the Eagles have the right to trade him? Like, if a judge had a rule, yes, you can trade him, or no, there's not enough here, you cannot trade him. I think the judge would say there's enough evidence here to suggest this guy was a pain in the ass. And therefore, you can see, like, imagine if you had to have an arbiter be the person that justifies whether you could trade a person or not based on whether or not they were a pain in the ass.
That would be pretty awesome. I would like to have that.
That'd be so cool that if we had to break it down, like, okay, this one's going to trial today. They're going to find out whether or not A.J. Brown was a pain in the ass or not.
Can we get that for, like, the professional work environment? Like, can we? Can there be an arbiter for, like, people's workplaces?
Well, I think Brown would be ruled that he was enough, and therefore you can trade him because of the way that he acted. And again, not speeding over the bridge at 170 miles an hour at 2:00 in the morning, not brandishing a weapon, not doing anything nefarious with his wife or anything to that effect, although I know there's plenty of rumors out there stating stuff that happened possibly behind the scenes with other teammates that led to the deterioration of certain relationships. They are seemingly unfounded and don't seem to be, holding any weight here.
You're right. Not corroborated by more legitimate sources.
So he's not that bad guy. He's the guy that says this, that ticks off that side of the locker room. And then he goes to the other side of the locker room where he is popular and shows his popularity over there. And then the other side has to be like, this guy again. Everybody's always asking me questions. Then he doesn't step to the microphone after the games. We never heard from AJ for weeks after it was all said and done. But if you want to text in right now, 609-403-0973, are you glad that AJ, because I'm more surprised that people are just flat out glad that he's gone. Like, I thought there would be people like, man, it stinks that they couldn't make this work, because the way that I see it is here. He gets traded here in 2022. They immediately go to the Super Bowl. They lose. 2023 happens. 10-1, thing falls apart. Relationship starts to get a little wonky, as Brandon Graham pointed out. 11, one's trying, 11's not doing his part, right? Remember that whole situation. Yep. The next year, they bring him back. The Eagles win the Super Bowl. So you're thinking, maybe not that big of a deal, right? But the Eagles knew that something wasn't right. but you can't trade A.J. Brown after you win the Super Bowl. You certainly aren't trading Jalen Hurts. So what do? You hope that the relationship figures itself out. 4-0. Then there's some reports that A.J. Brown actually wants out. Even though the team is 4-0, the offense stinks.
Right. There were reports that after the Bucs game that when he didn't get his prerequisite targets, that was kind of like the moment that he was like, I'm done with this.
But you're 4-0. You can't just say, okay, we're going to trade you.
Right. Howie Roseman said multiple times last year, we're not in the business of trading players away like A.J. Brown. We're in the business of acquiring players like A.J. Brown.
And I think the Eagles just were hopeful that it would go away, that these two guys could coexist, and that would be the end of it. But as Mike Garafolo pointed out, it wasn't that this guy had a problem with anybody else on the team other than one singular guy.
That's the crazy part, is his issues were not with the head coach. His issues were not with the offensive coordinator. No issues with Howie or ownership. It was strictly about the quarterback. So it was a really weird one because a lot of times the receiver goes, I'm just done with that team, because whether it's the GM or the coach or some kind of combination of it, it wasn't the case here.
And I'm not saying that Garafolo or anyone reporting that is wrong. But I will push back on one thing. A.J. Brown has had a lot of opportunities to throw the quarterback under the bus. There were actually times last year he stuck up for Jalen, saying that, people don't understand everything's on Jalen's plate. He said to the media last year, you remember, Mike, he was saying that, people got to, understand that Jalen Hurts has a lot more to deal with than the rest of us do. So A.J. Brown then, and even now when it was on Maria Taylor's podcast the other day, he could have had opportunity to throw Jalen under the bus. And instead he says this.
Not as close as we once were. I believe that's fine. It's like there's no bad blood. There's actually still a lot of love. I love him. I love him to death. I want him to succeed and accomplish all the things that he wants to accomplish. I didn't truly understand why our friendship became the public of the center of everybody's attention when it came to football, because, looking back on it, we haven't been as close as we were a couple of years now, but that didn't stop anything. Mm-hmm. We still competed, we still pushed each other, we still led the teams.
So he said that. And he also talked about how there's nothing that actually happened that caused them to drift apart. So this is a situation of then what happened? Where's the fracture? Or did they just, I don't like your personality more, or we just have different lives? Like, which one is it? You know what I mean? Like, because he's saying here, let's hear this part.
Nothing happened, people just grow apart. That didn't happen between me and him or our families, wives, anything. Nothing like that ever happened, but life happens, and you just look up sometimes and you find yourself drifting away, and that's fine. And I think both parties accepted that.
Which is fine. So all of that sounds like, yeah, that's normal. But how did it get to the point where life happens, we just drifted away, we don't have bad blood, but I don't want to play with you anymore?
Right. That's why I'm having trouble reconciling the fact that A.J. Brown could have gone on Maria Taylor's podcast when that dropped. And he could have been like, yo, here's what happened. Like, I know you don't watch the Player podcast, Mike, but, me and Nick Earnshaw, we suffered through when C.J. Gardner-Johnson went on the Pivot podcast and had 90 minutes of just blithering. And probably of that 90 minutes, 70 of it, I still have no clue what he was trying to say. But, I mean, he went scorched earth on everyone and anyone he could. So, like, when a player's no longer on the Eagles and they have an opportunity to speak, A.J. Brown could have been like, it was him. It was Jalen Hurts. You are the father. The test proves, Like, he could have done that, but he didn't. And that's why it perplexes me.
Yeah, it feels like he's willing to air certain things out, but he's not willing to go all the way there. So what did he learn, his biggest lesson from his time in Philadelphia?
Main lesson that I always revert back to: telling the truth out of season is worse than a lot. And not everything needs to be said. even if I feel like it's best. Even if I was voted captain, 3 times in a row, but still, telling the truth out of season is worse than a lie. So I learned that.
Yeah, that was something interesting. I think Peter Schrager brought up on the podcast with Mike Garafolo was that he was the captain for three
straight
consecutive
years.
Yeah.
But he's saying my lesson learned was you just don't tell the truth during the season. Well, I would like to know what that truth exactly was, because he also told Maria Taylor that he doesn't think he's a bad guy. He was just trying to push guys to fix things.
I wouldn't say a villain, because some of the things that was done, it was done purposely to give us a push. I know if I say something in the media, I know it's gonna propel us to work on it, because now everybody's talking about it. So it's like, are we gonna fix it or not?
So this is an interesting one. This is him basically saying, I knew I had to say things in this manner because it almost sounds like he feels like it wasn't being addressed. So I had to say it because if I didn't say it, nobody would. So that one to me is very telling because he was here for 4 years and he felt that over the time that he was there, that I had to keep doing this because things would go awry and then it wouldn't be addressed. And if I didn't say it, what's wrong with the team, the offense? Passing. Like if I didn't come out and say the most obvious thing, it would never be addressed. And it's not to say that that's the right way to do it. It's also not the wrong way to do it. It's just his way of doing it. And I think it rubbed I think it rubbed people the wrong way. Now, at times when he said the passing thing, people were like, well, he's not wrong.
And the next game, they came out and they chucked it all around. And what did Jalen come and say the press conference after the game?
Yeah, is that what y'all wanted to see?
Right. And then they asked AJ after the game about the game. He goes, "We had a good game." Okay. Thanks for the commentary.
Yeah, and I don't think he's a villain per se. I think he was just he wore you out.
He did. And he also admitted that he didn't mind when people painted him as a bad guy for trying to hold guys.
I don't know that anybody ever painted him as a bad guy, though.
I think there were some people, Maria Taylor brings up to him during the pod about how there were fans, people in the media, people on radio. She mentioned radio at one point, so there obviously was enough for a national person like her to bring up to AJ to get this kind of answer from him.
We didn't really care who was uncomfortable. And I feel like as a leader, sometimes, that can be frowned upon from the media. But, there's always that one guy in that locker room who pushing guys and hold people accountable. And that was me. And I didn't mind being viewed as whatever picture was painting me out to be, because I know, like, my teammates know, like, I had their back.
I mean, I think he didn't mind being I don't want to say bad guy, because I don't think he was, it was viewed that way. I don't think he minded being the guy that when things weren't going the way that they wanted to, that
he had to speak up.
Yeah, like he knew that if it wasn't me, this thing's going to go awry.
And that goes back to the question that I've asked you in the past, Mike, about, when you saw guys like Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox and these other esteemed veterans, these guys who are like very well respected, right? When they retired, who became the adult in the room? Who became the guy walking around? It was famous that, Malcolm Jenkins in 2017, right? When guys were dejected when Wentz got injured, he kind of like MF'd everybody to get their heads out of the sand and say, we still have a season to play. It was Jason Kelsey back in 2022 who kind of, rallied the guys a couple times during the season. We heard the story in 2024 when the offensive lineman went into Nick Sirianni's office, right? Led by Lane Johnson, who said, hey, coach, we need to run the ball, okay? And they're like, okay, I guess we're running the ball. Like, it felt like that maybe there wasn't a guy last year doing that. And do you think that maybe A.J. Brown felt like, well, no one else is doing it, so I got to do it?
When you lost Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey, and it got to the point where, okay, who's going to be that guy? Somebody has to be it. Now, the problem is it's a completely different way of doing it than those guys did. And that was the eye-opening thing, was this guy's doing it through the media as opposed to maybe what everybody else is used to your face behind closed doors. And I think that's what rubbed people and wore on people.
Right. Because the idea is also he says it, and then you're constantly asked about it.
609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Guys, I'm going to miss him, but we are equipped with all these weapons. We could have 4 800-yard receivers in Goddard and Barkley. They could have career years. Yeah, I definitely think the Eagles did a good job of moving on from Brown with Lemon and Wicks and Brown. And, of course, you have Goddard. They've brought in multiple running backs, too, by the way. I think that's something we talked about it with Adam today for Football 4. They brought in Elijah Moore. What has he done? He was in the San Francisco offense. So he's a guy who's run that West Coast system.
And Kansas City, by the way. Don't forget about that. So he
was hurt last year.
True, but I mean, he's seen different versions of it, is what I'm saying.
Guys, I see it this way. I'm not happy that AJ the player is gone, but I'm happy the circus is over. It was time. We got good compensation. I know it might be oversimplification, but we gave up a 1 to get him. We won a Super Bowl with him, and we got a first when the warts got too big. Huge win for us. We'll always love AJ, and I love the move now, Chuck in Marmora. I think that's very well put. I don't think we should be hating AJ on the way out the door. I think we could say, man, it stinks that this is the way it ended, but we maximized the trade. Look what happened in Tennessee from that trade.
They fell apart.
They fired the coach, and they're an abysmal organization all of a sudden.
They fired the GM, too, by the way.
The GM got fired as well, yes.
The GM that traded A.J. Brown specifically.
Like, when you've been through the T.O. debacle, the Eagles knew what to do. I believe they tried to keep him but wanted A.J. to go, so the Eagles did the right thing for the team in trading him. New season, new team, thanks for the memories. Jason from Millville. Another very measured response there, right?
I also like what he said, the idea of the TO thing, because I don't think the relationship between Hurts and AJ Brown ever got to the Donovan McNabb TO level. I think that I look at AJ and Jalen kind of being like Shaq and Kobe, like 10, 15 years from now, they're going to sit down for an interview. They're going to hug it out. They're going to have some good conversation, and it's all going to be good. I don't think it's going to be years from now, these two are going to be like avoiding each other.
609-403-0973. I think I got time for a few more. I think AJ, after a couple of years, one of the two, either Hurts or AJ, was like, I don't care for this guy's personality. That's it. Nothing more to it than that's probably the answer. And yes, we can play together, but no, we're not going to be as close as we once were. I love the guy. I hope nothing but the best from him, and let's move on. Sounds like it clears things up a little bit with the fracture in the relationship. So obviously he was the captain. Hurts was having a couple of bad games. He said something about it. And just let you know, I'm the quarterback. I'm the guy, stay in your place. And maybe that's what happened. All right. Well, I do think the beginning of this, like the relationship that they had, apparently, like they went on a recruiting trip and that's how they had met. And
they know each other since their high school days because they were in very similar camps. When Jalen got to Alabama, he hosted A.J. Brown, their recruiting trip. They became very close friends. They used to talk to each other all the time. And then they became teammates. They were excited. They were like, we're doing this. We're gonna rock the world. And then somewhere in the 2023 season, things started to get messy.
Yeah, it's almost like you met vacation friends and they were fun on vacation, and then you went on vacation again someplace different and like stayed with them, and you were like, "Ee."
Yeah, you realized this guy was fun to have drinks with, but not maybe so fun to work with.
Listen, there are friends that you can hang out with.
Yep.
There are friends you can go on vacation with.
Yep.
There are also friends that you can't go on vacation with. And when you go on vacation with them, you realize, I don't know that I can keep hanging out with this people.
But there's also friends you can go on vacation with, but you don't want to work with them.
Well, right. Well, and the thing is, do they say, hey, now that we're in different organizations, I don't know, we're cool? Maybe not. I don't think so.
Listen, maybe next year at this time, they'll do a double date. Maybe the husband wife duos will go out somewhere. They'll be seen in Cabo somewhere, and we'll have on TMZ.
Doubtful. Doubtful.
I tried.
All right, Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN. Coming up, Albert Breer breaks it all down. We'll put a cap on it at the end of today's show. That's coming up next on the Sports Pass Live on 97.3 ESPN. Hey, looking for something to do tomorrow to watch the Phillies game? Stop out to Ventnor Social. We'll be there for the Phillies game, watching live. The 105 first pitch, we'll be there starting at 2. Then you can watch the Phillies game with us and sign up to win a trip to Baltimore. See the Phillies and Orioles on July 31st. Be there tomorrow. Watch the Phillies and Padres. Free to enter. Don't have to do anything other than show up. Tomorrow, Ventnor Social. Stop out and see the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN.
third for him, then went to 2 Super Bowls and won one of them, and then traded him for a first and a fifth. I'd say that was a complete success.
Pretty good rental.
Yeah.
Worked out pretty well for
Pretty
us.
good
By the way,
rental.
who cares if he doesn't care about you? You got what you wanted out of the deal.
2 of the 4 seasons, we ended up in the last game of the season.
Yeah, oh no. You didn't love us? Oh, what am I going to do with that Super Bowl trophy sitting in there?
Unsportsmanlike Moment of the day, Pot Costello and Chris Canty debating on whether A.J. Brown was successful. The trade ended up working out for them. And A.J. Brown, in 4 years, was the best wide receiver potentially in the history of the franchise. That trade's a home run. There should be no one looking at that trade saying, bad trade, rental. You get 4 years out of an NFL player, that's a home run.
4 productive years.
And a Super Bowl to boot. There are plenty of times where you get a player who maybe is more productive over a long period of time, and you don't win said Super Bowl. You know, we always go to Julio Jones. He spent 10 Atlanta, 10 years, really good years, never won skedaddle. So I'll take the 4 years of A.J. Brown rather than the 10 years of Julio Jones.
There's a lot of great receivers who never won championships. Calvin Johnston, Larry Fitzgerald, Andre Johnson. They won championships. A.J. Brown helped you win a championship.
Hey, look, right now, CeeDee Lamb has been in Dallas. This is now going into his 7th season. He's been really, really good. He hasn't won anything yet. If you would say, I'll take CeeDee Lamb 7 years, or so far 6, this will be his 7th year coming up, or A.J. Brown, the result of his 4 years, I would rather A.J. Brown for 4 with a Super Bowl than CeeDee Lamb for 7, even though I think CeeDee Lamb is probably he had a better season 1 than A.J. Brown has ever had. He had a 1,700-yard season a couple years ago with 135 catches. But for the most part, they're very much in the same ballpark.
It's the same concept. You have a number 1 receiver, and you can pick whoever you want. Doesn't have to be CeeDee Lamb. It's the idea that A.J. Brown wasn't just productive for you, but he got you to the ultimate team accomplishment.
Yeah. Jamar Chase, by the way, he got to a Super Bowl. You didn't win it. He's been there 5 years. You could say Jamar Chase is better than A.J. Brown, but he hasn't won a Super Bowl. So you can keep trying 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. He might be better and better and better, but he doesn't have the Super Bowl. The trade is a success. The fact that you traded a first-round pick, who, by the way, turned into a bust-a-roni. I think we're so fixated on that number, that first-round pick thing. You can get the first-round pick, and then it does nothing for you. Like if the Eagles would have kept that pick and drafted Treadwell, who I think was the guy that
Treylon Burks.
Well, Treadwell was another busted wide receiver.
Yeah, he was the guy who drafted by the Vikings.
And it's like, well, that first-round pick, you gave up a first-round pick to get this guy. Okay, great. I gave up a first-round pick. My guy won the Super Bowl. He had the most receiving yards in my franchise's history. The other guy's not in the league anymore.
Yeah, your guy became a journeyman. My guy helped me win a championship and get to almost win a second one, too. If Jonathan Gannon's defense.
Yeah, I don't know what Kenny's talking about to say that. It was a rental, not worth it. I mean, that doesn't seem to pass the smell test.
I think Chris Long's has a better handle on how leases work than Kenny does.
Absolutely. Albert Breer was on the Rich Eisen show today. If you heard it right here on 97.3 ESPN, he talked about the frustrations within the Eagles offense leading to this.
A.J. Brown's personal frustration with the quarterback, personal frustration with the offense. And I think, what happens in a lot of cases like this is sometimes we expect guys to be the ultimate competitor when it comes to team performance, but think they can shut it off when it comes to individual performance. The reality is all these guys are concerned about their legacies and how they're going to be remembered and all of that different stuff. And, I think back to Tom Brady at one point saying that he was the most miserable 8-0 quarterback of all time because he didn't think he was playing very well, right? So, these guys are competitive in that way too.
I always ask this question in my mind. I don't want to get so philosophical where we're going down some rabbit hole of, Adam and Eve here, but do these guys really think, what is the ultimate? Like, you're playing the game for what? Like, there are players who played in the 70s and 60s and 50s and going back. Nobody knows who these people are. Nobody knows what they've done. Now, you can remember teams. You might remember players. But I find it to be so, I don't know if selfish is the right word or whatever word you want to use, to think that you are going to supersede the game by your performances. And if you can live by that premise of like, who am I to think that I am going to be bigger than the game itself? The game will just keep on moving on, and you will play, and you will have a role in that game, and then you will retire and move on, and someone else will be out there to try to take your mantle. So that's what frustrates me so much, to hear like you would rather your own personal success as a player than the ultimate goal of team success. So when you hear the frustrations with the offense, the team was still winning. And that's where it bothers you to say the team was still winning and that wasn't enough for you. You want it more for yourself. Because, quite frankly, A.J. Brown had 1,496 yards, which is the most in team history. I didn't even know that. Like, I didn't know that he had 1,496 yards, and that's the best in team history. Now, I'm sure there are people out there that they know these things. Like, that's what matters, and they know these numbers. But I think what matters to the fans more than anything is, did you win the Super Bowl? Did you have the best team? And that player was a member of the best team, not that he had 1,496 yards on that team.
Right. Like, for example, that 2017 team has a lot of guys who will never go to a Hall of Fame, right? A lot of the 2017 Eagles are not going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Some will be in the Eagles Ring of Honor. But you know what they will be forever? Super Bowl champions. If someone sees them out and about, they're going to buy them a drink. They're going to buy them something because they are so grateful to them that they brought the city a championship.
Yeah, the team, though, is ultimately, and then the members of that team.
Yeah.
Not this guy bigger than that team.
I think that's
just real quick to finish on the point. I think that's where AJ has kind of lost people, was that winning the Super Bowl didn't fulfill him. And then it was perceived, and I'm not saying those people are wrong, the perception that AJ put on himself was, I could get 100 yards and we lose, and that's better than me getting 30 yards and we won.
Well, so what I was going to ask you is how much of it is generational? Like, how much of it is like he comes from a generation that's very tone deaf and maybe a little self-absorbed?
I'm sure that has something to do with it. I mean, we have a society, yes, where we are just playing meaningless tournament weekend after weekend after weekend that nobody cares about who wins it. And it's like, oh, we won this tournament this weekend. And I'm like, nobody gives a bleep. The things that you remember are the things that you work towards as a team and travel, start at a beginning point and go through the trials and tribulations of a season, not just, hey, we're here for the weekend and we showed up and some of the teams maybe, no, you started, the journey started back with a team and a group together. That's where I think things have kind of gone off the beaten path a little bit, where losing doesn't bring the same
satisfaction.
No, losing doesn't bring the same it doesn't have the same impact, because it's like, oh, I can play again next weekend.
Okay, gotcha.
I could just play in another tournament next weekend that nobody cares about who won.
Or you can lose and have like 30 points and you think that, well, I played well.
Right. Well, but the end result of it is we lost this tournament, but I had 7 hits.
Right.
Or we lost this game, but I had 130 yards. And then the next weekend you play in another tournament and you lose again. And it's like, but I had 10 hits. And it's like, this is where we've lost the way, where A.J. Brown is more satisfied. And he says, well, I've won every single tournament, every single weekend. The biggest of the biggest one doesn't mean anything different because I played in all these other meaningless tournaments. So now the biggest of the big becomes almost meaningless.
I think that's where the other part of what Albert Beer said on the Rich Eisen show probably will frustrate you even more, Mike, because it's like AJ Brown doesn't even realize what he's even complaining about when Albert Breer explains this.
Over the last year, AJ Brown felt like he was being held back, felt like his numbers were suffering because of how Jalen Hurts plays the game and how the offense is built around Jalen Hurts. And so I think that frustration, which has existed for a couple of years now and boiled over last year, it kind of reached the point where the Eagles just said, we can still get good value for him. Now's the time to do it.
Yeah, I think the Eagles played this at the right time. If they tried to keep him, it would probably be detrimental to the success of the team, 1. 2, they knew if they kept him that there's a possibility that he wouldn't be the same player, that maybe he is a player in decline. We don't want to find that out. We'll let you find that out. Because if we keep him and there's a decline and he starts a rift, we're not getting a first-round pick. So all that adds up to we have to move on from this player now.
The other part that perplexes me is Albert Breer said the offense was built around Jalen Hurts. Shouldn't the offense be built around the quarterback? Like, why would AJ Brown be like, I'm not getting my numbers because this offense is not built around me? Like, when did the offense need to be built around the wide receiver?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't the offense should be built for the quarterback to execute the offense? Like, am I missing something here?
Well, no, but that doesn't mean that he couldn't be frustrated by saying you've built an offense on that guy, that's part of his resentment towards the quarterback, that the quarterback couldn't do more, so they had to build an offense around him, and because of that, the offense was so scaled back because it was perceived that this is all that the quarterback could do, and therefore, if I'm a wide receiver and he's my quarterback, now I'm suffering.
But then
even though
yeah,
we're winning games.
But then when they forced the ball to AJ Brown for 3 games, they lost all 3 of those games. He would drop the ball. He wasn't always running the routes. So it's like, well, which is it, AJ?
Yeah, but that's what Albert Breer said. It was perpetual frustration over years. We're all focused in on a little 3-game pocket where he had 100 yards and the team lost.
But again, I'm just thinking of I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to take the objective guy on 97.3 ESPN, put my fan hat on for a minute and be like, if you're saying I need more targets, we give you more targets, and then you don't catch those targets, you drop the ball, then how am I supposed to take you seriously when you complain that you're not getting your numbers?
Well, I think the bigger sample size is that he didn't perpetually drop balls and he didn't have all of these, it wasn't a negative impact to throw him the ball in his past and in his big picture. Maybe over that little, again, we're taking the 3-game stretch and now extrapolating that out that, well, we tried to give you the ball. You always dropped it. That's BS. I mean, come on. He was not a guy that had drop problems, right? I mean,
well, not before last year.
Right. I mean, again, we're taking a 3-game stretch and making that out as if, well, see, we threw you the ball and you dropped it. Well, I mean, not over time. So he's saying, over time, I was a very productive player and you only threw me the ball. Now, again, I don't like the way that he went about it and the team's winning. But you look back at last year, he had a run of 110 yards, they lost. 132 yards, they lost. 100 yards, they lost. Now, later on in the season, he had 95 and they won. 68 and they won. Not 100 yards, not big-time games. He had 109 against the Rams earlier in the year and they won. So it's just all over the place, right? I mean, there is no rhyme or reason. Ultimately, though, I think his frustration was very clear that he felt like I am a very talented player and that incorporating me into the game plan more gives us a better chance to win. I don't know if he's wrong about that, by the way. He was fairly good. Sports Bash this hour brought to you by Boxing Insider Promotions. They got a big event coming up.
Yeah, we're counting down the days to the biggest heavyweight showdown in South Jersey boxing history. 2 South Jersey undefeated boxers, Holy Spirit High School graduate Josh Harper, take on at the Miami High School graduate Bruce Sullivan Jr., plus South Jersey super welterweight Damian Cinderello, as well as Pleasantville's super lightweight Julio Sanchez are just some of the fighters who will be back in action at Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City Saturday, June 13th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Do not miss out on Selden Jr. versus Harper, the Ultimate South Jersey undefeated heavyweight showdown at Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City Saturday, June 13th, presented by Boxing Insider Promotion.
Phillies tonight, and Christopher Sanchez is going for more history. I'll tell you what to be watching for. That's next. This is Sports Bat. the night for the Phils. Listen to what he could do tonight. Right now, 44 and 2/3 scoreless innings, second longest streak by any player over the last 35 years. Zach Greinke, by the way, has 45 and 2/3. He did that in 2015. So 1 inning and 1 out tonight. He will pass that number. Okay? Got that going.
Like it.
147 ERA this season, best in Major League Baseball. 95 strikeouts, second most in baseball. He's looking to become the 5th different pitcher in Phillies history with 100 strikeouts through his first 13 starts of the season. Schilling twice, Wheeler twice, Lee and Carlton.
Love that.
5 straight starts of 7 scoreless and 5 or more strikeouts. 1 shy of tying Don Drysdale for the longest streak by a pitcher since they moved the mound back in 1893.
Well, that's awesome.
Second consecutive start against the Padres. The Padres have a 632 OPS against lefties this season. So if you want to take a chance on betting that he's going to keep this scoreless inning streak going, I would think those numbers would suggest he would. 5 straight quality starts of at least 7 innings, longest active streak in Major League Baseball. If he does it again, it will be the longest streak by a Phillies pitcher since Cole Hamels in 2015 had 6 straight, 7 innings or more in 5 straight. Sanchez has 5. If he does it one more, he'll tie Hamels.
Gotcha.
So that is what Sanchez is trying to do tonight. By the way, Padres, 5 straight losses to the Phillies dating back to last year. Their longest active losing streak versus any team in baseball. A 6 straight loss will be their longest losing streak against the Phillies in over 10 years. So it's been a long, long time since the Phillies were able to knock off the Padres. 6 straight. It is Sanchez. It is Walker Buehler. And if the Phillies win tonight, that would put them at 32 and 29. And the Phils trying to do that tonight. And with a win tonight, that would be 2 straight in this series against the Padres. And then tomorrow, you can look to sweep the series when we're at Ventnor Social. So stop out tomorrow to Ventnor Social and watch the Phils with us. We'll be there with the Phillies and the Padres. You can join us. We'll see you then.